about to begin.
Presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, John Luke Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, aka Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. This beautiful Friday morning here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-host, John Luke Garofalo and Andrew Cooper, a.k.a. Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, boys?
What up?
What's good, dude? Started off my morning just now with something pretty gross, if you guys want to hear about it.
Let's hear it. You know me.
Pants? Just now. Well, yeah, but just now, I told you I was going in the kitchen to get coffee. So I walk in the kitchen, I get the coffee, the coffee pot, and I go to my cupboards to look for a cup, and there's none in there. So then I open my dishwasher to grab one, and the moment I picked it up, while my hands
picked up your dishwasher,
I picked up the cup. Dishwasher, yeah, pretty strong. The moment I picked up a cup, so I got a cup in one hand, coffee pot in the other. I immediately had to sneeze. But I didn't have time, so I just sneezed into an entire dishwasher full of clean dishes.
No.
Do I wash those or do I just pretend?
You gotta wash them again, man. You gotta just rerun it.
Yeah, here's what you do: close it, forget about it until 8 p.m., and then the dishwasher is gonna forget too. They won't even know that you sneezed all over them if you just ignore it for a little bit.
Are you doing all right? Because you sneezed on the way to the kitchen. I noticed.
I did double sneeze, right? Yeah,
it's a double sneeze.
Yeah, but I should have seen that sneeze coming because the first sneeze was a precursor.
And you couldn't cover it. You just went full on lean over the dishwasher.
I was already up in there. I had hot coffee in the hand that this hand, look at this one. Hot pot of coffee, bro. Can't risk that. And the thing is, dude, my auntie Koopy listens to this show, and we invited everybody over the day after the wedding. So now I definitely have to run the dishes.
You gotta run it again. Now you gotta run it again.
You just gotta run it again, man. I'm sorry. You just gotta bite that bullet. Otherwise, you're drinking and eating boogers for the next week.
Not that big a deal for me. I feel my own. I guess it's my own boogers, but still.
It is weird how
courteous thing to do.
Your own boogers, it's I shouldn't eat those, but it's not disgusting if one ends up in my mouth. But
if I go over to your house and sneeze all over your dishwasher.
Oh my god, disgusting.
If you were to sneeze on my dishes, then it'd be a problem. You can't be sneezing on other people's dishes. There's no question about that. And the thing is, since we're having people over, other people might use those dishes, so I guess I will wash them. The only reason I told that story is I wanted an opinion on whether I had to wash them again.
And
whenever I lived in Atlanta, before I was adult about my dishes, making sure they don't get too piled up. We had a broken dishwasher, so our sink was full to the brim with dishes, all the way to the top, double side sink. We were just lazy pieces of crap that week. But we were having guests over, and all of a sudden, it was 30 minutes until everybody was coming over. I was I do not have time to do these dishes. So I loaded them all up and put them in my bathtub and filled the bathtub up with water and a little bit of bleach. And I thought, shortcut, this will be nice and easy. I can just get them all clean in the bathtub while everyone's here. I take them out. I'll let you know. It did not work the way I intended. All that happened was I had a disgusting bathtub full of food particles and gross dishes, all the way to the top, completely full. And then I ruined multiple pieces of clothing trying to get all the dishes out because there was so much bleach in there that I had thrown on top of the dishes. So all I did was make it worse and destroy a lot of my clothes in the process. That was a terrible. Just wash the damn dishes instead of trying to take shortcuts.
That's the kind of thing where the thing from the hypothetical the other day where someone's following you around filming you. That's what we need that for, dude. Because I just want to see the look on your face when you were thought you were so smart. When you thought you were so smart to do that, you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, dude, I'm a genius. I got this all figured out, right? I'm going to see two looks on your face. The moment you thought you were super smart and the moment you realized that you were not.
You know, like growing up, I always heard like an adult male's brain doesn't fully develop until they're 26. And at like 24, I was like, bullshit, my brain's not developed. I am a fully developed man. And then I look back at some of my decisions. I'm like, guess my brain wasn't fully developed at that point in my life.
Exactly,
Like,
dude. It's
there's
like nothing in there except like Kanye West lyrics.
that's what's in your brain until you turn 26.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
dude.
just straight ye in your brain until you're 26. Guys, we got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Tommy's in here. What's up, Tommy? Welcome. And he said, morning, fellas.
Morning, partner.
More howdy.
Howdy, partner.
Skiddly-doo.
Greg News is morning, guys, and happy Friday. I'm so happy to hear you all talk about the game Rashad Wild Goose had. Man, just absolutely killed it, that Rashad Wild Goose. Tommy saying Wild Goose. Tommy saying, Coop, just rinse them, then you're all good. And Craig letting you know that's a little bit gross over there.
Dude. I feel like Tommy's got it right.
We got Maria in the chat saying, good morning. Remember when Coop told us he committed perjury in court on the show yesterday?
I do remember that.
When you say it like that, it sounds bad, Maria. Like that makes it sound.
He just said he would commit perjury.
A little bit.
And that he has in the past.
Yeah, I mean, dude, come on,
yeah.
dude. Eating, bro.
They can't get you for that.
Can't catch me, dude. Can't catch me, bro.
I mean, it sounds like they did.
Sounded like they did, dude, but you know, and then they also didn't believe my lies. So
did you have to pay the ticket anyway? You went up there and perjured yourself, and the judge was like, nah.
Yeah. He was like, you know what? I respect you. I respect your willingness to be an outlaw, to be a bit of a renegade, but but we're
perjury's not funny, son.
Son, yeah, that's what he did. He sat me down. We had to talk, but had to pay that ticket.
We got our friend Sam Wagman in the chat. What's up, Sam? Sam saying, walked in here to Simon saying his brain isn't fully developed. Somehow not totally shocked. Yeah, we're getting there. It was supposed to happen at 26. I'm a couple years late, but I think it's going to happen any day now. It's just going to click.
We're hopeful.
We're staying optimistic. Yesterday there was a report, guys, that Tom Brady could be fined for his apparent Grady Jarrett kick. Fines for kicking are $10,500 for a first offense and $15,500 for a second. It appeared Brady tried to kick Jarrett as both players were getting up, but he didn't make contact. Coop, you've been saying this since that happened. Like that was the very first thing you said after we brought up this hit was Brady tried to kick him.
It was like such a little girly kick too. Like you could literally hear him going. Like he's like, yeah.
It was like a 3-year-old throwing a fit is what it was down there. It was like a little kid throwing a temper tantrum on the ground. Like you're trying to pick him up because it's bedtime and he just throws a kick out there to let you know he's not going to bed.
He should be fine for being a little baby.
Justin Fields is quoted as tired of being almost there after the loss. He voices frustration over what resulted in Chicago dropping 3 straight games while stumbling to a 2-4 start. We always get told that we're almost there. We're almost there, Fields said. Me personally, I'm tired of being almost there. I'm tired of being just this close. Rough.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Probably play a little bit better, dude. I mean, I know that last pass was in the Moondog's hands, but
yeah,
he had a lot of opportunities to not do that. Like, for instance, snapping the ball before the delay game. That's a little bit of an easier play, would it not be? Right? Or just throwing the ball. Like you guys see what I'm talking about, right? With the pass plays are being called and the ball is not being thrown. Like, yeah, throw it, dude. Just throw it. And then you
throw it.
Like I think it was like the very first drive. He had the guy open on the slant across the middle, and he just didn't throw it, right? And he ended up getting sacked for like 8 yards. It's like just throw. You got to trust your wide receivers.
Give us your best Richard Sherman. Just throw the damn ball.
Throw the damn ball. Like it's okay, dude. Like it's okay. If you're going to be this bad, it's okay to throw an interception every once in a while. Just like give your guys a chance.
You're going to throw them anyways. Like you're not avoiding interceptions. Like whether you throw 18 or 40, you're probably going to throw at least one pick, Justin. Not looking great. Yeah, I get it. Of course, he's tired of being almost there. But I don't think this team's going to get there this season. I don't think they're a good enough team to get there. They're going to be almost there at least for the rest of this year. We'll see what happens after that. Maria in the chat saying, hey, girls can kick hard. Absolutely.
True.
How dare you? And then Craig and Simon, I'm getting roasted on the other side. Craig said, Simon, the kicks kids give to avoid bed are neither little nor a joke. They mean
Simon.
business.
Get
when they're
Simon and
trying to
Coop. Both
avoid
of you
bet on
get
that.
reprimanded. Not me.
Whoa,
I didn't say anything wrong.
I never said that girls can't kick hard. I did. I have a chunk out of my left shin bone that proves that. Like,
What?
solid one, dude. Oh, dude, this girl once kicked me with some.
What the heck is a chonk?
A big chunk missing from my shin bone. This girl,
chonk.
I think I was like in like middle school. We went on this like ski trip. I forget what I said, dude, but she kicked me with her ski boots in the shin. You can still feel like the spot where that was. Like, that's a danger spot, dude. Yeah, chunk, Maria. You heard that right. Yeah, they were made for kicking. Those boots were made.
Dude, what did you say?
Dude, I forget, dude. I think she said something like, she like asked me if I had money to get
Grimace is
she like asked me if I had money to get something at the cafeteria, and I was like, I know a janitor's closet where you can earn that money, and then like bang, there goes my chin.
That sounded like you deserved it.
Yeah. You asked to get kicked in the shin with
it.
a ski boot on. You 100% deserved that.
No, I never said I didn't deserve it. I'm just saying that that it happened, and that I would never suggest that such a lame kick like Brady's would be a girl kick, because I've seen those kicks. I said it was like a toddler. I said it was like a toddler kick, right?
And Tommy said, you deserved it. Absolutely.
I absolutely did. Absolutely did.
Keith said she was tired of hearing Coop talk about routes run.
Lean in real close.
Dude, you bet this tight end.
He didn't even throw the ball.
On a related topic, Troy Aikman apologized for the dresses remark from Monday night. My hope is the competition committee looks at this in the next set of meetings and, we take the dresses off, is what Aikman said. Later, he apologized during a Thursday appearance on Sports Radio 96.7 FM, saying, my comments were dumb, Aikman said via awfulannouncing.com. Just shouldn't have made them, just dumb remarks on my part. Yeah, you shouldn't have made those comments, Troy. I'm glad he apologized. I remember hearing it on air and being like, probably shouldn't say that right there. Yeah, little outdated. Troy, can't be saying that. People can be tough as nails in the dress.
Who's Troy's co-guy now?
Aikman. Were you asking for his last name?
No, who's like his co-host guy?
I forget.
Yeah, Maria in the chat said he's a woman hater just like Simon.
Hey, what?
She didn't say the Simon part. I added that.
Let's see. Who hosts the Joe Buck? Is that who you're talking about?
Ah, okay.
It's like having two Joe Bucks at the same time.
I am so bad at remembering announcer names. Like, whenever it's just a voice in my ear, I'm like, announcer. Like, I have no idea who's talking. I have looked up Al Michaels' name 3 weeks in a row now. Like, 3 weeks in a row, I've been like, who's that guy with Kirk Herbstreit who keeps saying the best stuff? Like, he just always has a line that makes me giggle. And then I have to go, and I'm like, oh yeah, Al Michaels. I looked that up last week. Oh, and I looked it up the week before. Oh, and I looked it up the week before. Like, I just can't remember who the announcers are.
I love Al Michaels, dude. He was really carrying the water for the league last night on the Dan Snyder comments, though, huh? Like calling for him.
Man, that was They put him, like, they just put him up on the screen, and then Al Michaels just went in on Dan Snyder, and then saying like the best. You're right, Coop. He said like what he needs to do is just sell the team, avoid all this mess with the other owners, and
it feels like he's a bit of a mouthpiece, like. Between the Tua comments last week and then this week with the Dan Snyder one, it feels like he's definitely walking a party line with the NFL.
Smart, dude.
You think so?
If that was my boss,
yeah,
dude, I'd be like, let's say whatever they want, dude. For 100%. I'd be like, Bob Kraft is an angel. Never done anything wrong. But
I kind of like, I know they said Dan Snyder's working on collecting all that evidence, and we talked a little bit about this. One, just what a ridiculous thing for it. Like, he thinks like, oh, I know, I'll just publicly blackmail my way into staying as an owner of the Washington Commanders. Like, what a scumbag move to be like.
I don't know, man. I've watched a lot of Shonda Rhimes shows, and this is totally plausible.
I'll tell you
then,
that he has all.
I think it's going to work out best for us because like, it's not going to stop him from losing his team. I feel like it's still all the shit he did is still all the shit he did. He just might take some more assholes down with him. Like, he might drag a couple of people down with him on the way out, which is fine.
Dude, these guys are all snakes. Dude, do you ever hear how Bob Kraft got the Patriots in the first place?
No.
There are three parts of the team. There's the team itself, the stadium, and then there's the land under the stadium. When the original owners wouldn't sell it to him, they didn't like him. So he like quietly just started acquiring all the land around and under the stadium until he actually had it all. And then when those people struggled financially, they still wouldn't sell him the team. So they like sold it to this other guy, this investor that wanted to move the team to St. Louis. And then they didn't realize that like there was a lease like attached to the land, and Bob Kraft basically just like held their feet to the flames for like forever. And then that dude sold it to a guy that like owns Anheuser-Busch, and without him knowing that either. And Bob Kraft continued to like relentlessly be like, no one's moving this team anywhere. And eventually they just were like, all right, dude, like just have the team. Like he just like stole the football team from all these like rich dudes that wanted to move it, which is a bit amazing for me because they kept it. But like when you read like how it went down, it was like such a weasel move. I kind of love it, but it was a big time rich dude weasel move. 1000%.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. So these guys are all, dude, they would definitely like,
they all got stuff against them. They're all, like you said.
I feel ridiculous that this is the first time I've even had this thought, and it's because Tommy said that's a cheesy move. Are the Crafts like of the Kraft mac and cheese fortune? Is it the same Crafts?
No, they do like their industry is like this. It's not the same people, but they do like something similar. What they do is like super boring. It's like a bunch of like, distributing.
I thought that he owns that. I thought he owns the school thing. I mean the food thing.
No, that's not him.
He's the CEO of Kraft. He's the CEO of Kraft Corp, a diversified holding company with assets in paper and packaging, sports and entertainment, real estate development, and a private equity. That is like the most rich shit I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like it's just like we'll dabble in this and this and like, okay, Kraft, I get it.
Yeah, it's just like a
that's crazy
conglomerate of just like, weird stuff, dude. But yeah, I mean, like he's the man. I'll admit that. But like, I wouldn't mess with him. No way.
I'm saying I like him less now. Yeah, if he was the Kraft mac and cheese fortune, I would have been all about it. Dennison, you're saying, "What's up, boys? What's up, Dennis?
What's up,
welcome
Dennis?
In.
That's what I'm
glad to have you in here today."
Dude, this is blowing my mind. I swore that he was part of the Kraft mac and cheese thing.
Dude, he should.
He's look on this,
but he'll probably find some like sneaky way to acquire it for way less than it's worth. You know what I mean? Like that's probably the next play. That's probably
yeah. That's the next thing he's buying.
That's the next thing he's doing. 100%, dude. He wants to get this whole thing. The Patriots are just like a pawn in his big long-term plan, which is to get that Cheezosaurus Rex.
Cheezosaurus Rex. Producer Key said JL thinks mac and cheese is big money, dude. These food companies. These food companies are owned. They're like all owned by like 3 brands.
JL, I have
just like super brands.
I don't know. You may have noticed I've been quiet. I've been doing a bit of like a deep dive here where you guys have been talking, and I found something I think you're gonna love. So I haven't found who the Kraft Foods Group sold to Heinz in 2015. So I was trying to figure out,
Chicago based, right?
Maybe before they sold, Robert Kraft was the person running Kraft Foods Group, right? But in the process of looking up who owned Kraft Foods Inc., I found that it was originally founded as J.L. Kraft and Bros Company by James L. Kraft. The guy who started its name was J.L., and it was the J.L. Kraft Company is what the original company was called. J.L. Kraft and Bros.
I'm on the Wikipedia, and this dude does look just like J.L.
JL has been upset that Robert Kraft wasn't the heir to the fortune, and somehow JL is actually the heir to the Kraft fortune.
Yo, the picture of Henry John Heinz, this dude had a serious what's it called when your mustache is attached to your mutton chops, but then you have nothing on your chin?
Mustache and chops.
I think he's got this guy is Dr. Mustache and Chops. Like,
oh my god,
these two dudes.
Balding, but with the chops, bro.
Legend. He's got the hair where it's not supposed to be. That's the guy's rocking. But dude, I just looked it up, and the Kraft group that owns the Patriots is worth like $5.3 billion. But Kraft Heinz is worth $42 billion. So producer Keith, JL was actually right on this one. There is big mac and cheese money.
Big mac
So,
and cheese money.
Guys, there is a name for the mustache attached to the mutton chops.
How deep
And
can
it's
we go
called-
on this thread?
It's called Friendly Mutton Chops is the official name for it. It's called Friendly Mutton Chops.
Created by J.L. Hines.
He's got the friendliest chops I've ever seen.
Friendly Mutton Chops. What a
Ernie said the call is coming from inside the house.
Guys-
And my mom said secrets out.
man, that is blowing my mind. Like once you told me that says JL's ma, I see it. But for a while I was sitting there, I was like, Jilsma? Jilsma. I like it better as JL's
Both of our
ma.
moms have confusing handles on this.
I don't know.
app.
Jolly Rancher seems pretty clear that it's my mother, JL. I don't know
Why
what
did
you're
she pick
confused
Jolly
about.
Rancher? I'm just so confused.
Dude.
I don't know. She's sweet.
Kraft Heinz owns everything.
I told
do.
you. I told you they own like Maria's cousin worked for them for a while. Poop on the Kraft Heinz.
They
base.
make Kool-Aid, Grey Poupon, Capri Sun. Look at all that stuff.
Apparently they only give their employees like a 10% discount or something.
Ooh, Velveeta.
If you ever want to be like totally shocked, look up like all of the food and drink brands that
Oh yeah.
that Pepsi and Coke own.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Pepsi, like all of Lay's chips are owned by Pepsi. Like every
Yeah.
Frito that you eat is a Pepsi product.
Keep going. It just keeps there's like always a layer above whatever company you're looking at, and it's just owned by another bigger company. It's insane.
Yeah, it is
It's like
nuts.
7 companies own like pretty much everything you buy in a grocery store.
Dude, this rabbit hole you go so deep. Now I'm
I know,
reading
right?
that. Now I'm reading that they own Philadelphia cream cheese, and the Philadelphia cream cheese was literally never made in Philadelphia. It was always made in New York, but the guy chose Philadelphia to like try and like weasel in on their
Market
dairy
it.
industry. Yeah, unbelievable.
Cream cheese is my mortal enemy because it is so good.
Of course it is.
It truly is.
God,
course
it
it
is so dairy, like
shuts-
so
it-
high in
it shuts you
lactose.
down.
Is cream cheese.
Yeah.
I will be out of commission for the next 2 days if
Yep.
I eat cream cheese.
Before break,
Correct.
let's hit Dennis's question. Let's talk
100%.
a minor amount of football at least before the first break.
Dennis said half PPR start 1. Alan Lazard, Devonta Smith, Michael Thomas, CEH also has Garrett Wilson and Naji Harris. So which one of those players would you be starting in a half PPR league? Alan Lazard, Devonta Smith, Michael Thomas, CEH, Garrett Wilson, or Naji Harris?
I regret asking that question. I regret that. We need an easier question. I don't know. I feel like I can't go away from Devonta Smith right now. That's my
Pretty good.
initial thought, right?
You can
10.
take Michael Thomas out.
Yeah.
That's
And I would
between
take
Alan Lazard-
CEH out because he's, depending on the game script, Jerick McKinnon plays more pass plays, and they're the underdogs at home for the first time in a long time.
Let me know, or I'll ask after this. Never mind. We got to get Dennis's question first.
Yeah, so
I'll
to
take
me,
Garrett Wilson out too.
it's Lazard or Devonta Smith. I mean, Naji Harris played fewer snaps than Jalen Warren this past week. One fewer, but still. I mean, the fact that he's splitting, I don't like it.
Alan Lazard's got the New York Jets. Devonta Smith has the Dallas Cowboys. CH has Buffalo Bills. Najee Harris has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think I would go Lazard against the Jets.
I'm with you, Jail. It's between Lazard and Smith for me. They're pretty close, but I'm going to lean Lazard. And Coop,
Well,
it sounds
you
like
guys
you're
are
leaning
you guys
Smith.
already voted. It's already 2-3 on Lazard, but I just want it on the record. that
2-3.
I would start Devonta Smith in the half PPR. 2-3.
Totally
Yeah,
fair.
it's
Totally
already
fair.
2 out of 3. So
2 out of 3.
the record.
Also, Craig said, Tommy asked if I could grow a friendly mutton chops like that. I've never tried, but I will go out on a limb and say probably not.
I
Yeah, my dad had a friend growing up, Ernie. Ernie was the man. So kind, so sweet. Dude
Ernie?
had
Bird
sideburns like down to his nipples. Like
Down-
it was
Ew.
unbelievable. I was
Sure.
always so impressed. Like just like this. Yeah, you're right. But I'll do him this way. That's a much better way of doing that, showing the length. He had sideburns like down to his nips. They were just like they were glorious, beautiful. Just
This is what I would look
and-
like with the chop.
with the open mouth. Hold on, this
Your mouth
exchange
always
in the
has to be
chat
open.
has got me. Craig said, I had mutton chops in high school. The football team loved it. My girlfriend did not. Tommy goes, Keith, you dated the entire football. He's talking to Craig. Is Craig, you dated the entire football team?
Yes, he says yes.
I
of
did
course I did.
notice. I almost pointed out the other day. There was one other day this week where Craig said something that Tommy came in and was like, "Oh, Keith," like where it was very apparent Tommy thought Craig was Keith, and I was like, "Do I let this keep going, or do I say something? Do I stop it right now?" But looks like he got outed. Craig saved himself. Guys, coming up, we are going to be talking about that Thursday night football game that we all watched last night. And then we're going to be previewing this Sunday's games at some part with a little help from let's start over. Coming up, we're going to be talking about that Thursday night football game that we all watched, then previewing all of Sunday's games with a little bit of help from our friend Vinny Iyer. Then we are going to, later in the show, have our friend Aaron Ladd on from Kansas City's KSHB 41 News to talk a little bit about that Chiefs-Bills game that we got coming up this weekend. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Corey, Nando, and friends, presented by Mayo Media on Better Sports Network.
Offense is down this year, Nando.
Yeah, it is.
Offense is down this year. Definitely. Offense has been problematic this year. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that struggle offensively. Let me look it up right now. Geno Smith right now is QB 6 on the season.
I can buy that.
I can buy that too. What's in the top 12 right now, Nando?
Yeah.
This is going to blow your mind. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, you know. QB 4, Kyler Murray. QB 5, Joe Burrow. Even with that being the top 5, okay, cool. I get it. Now here's where things get weird. QB 6, Geno Smith. QB 7, Carson Wentz. QB 8, Jared Goff. Geno Smith, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff on QB 6, 7, and 8. That's crazy. Those are undrafted dudes. Wentz throwing for a lot of yards. The Commanders can move the football, Nando.
Yeah.
The problem is they shoot themselves in the foot with penalties.
Right.
And that turnover is coming at some point. That Wentz interception, that Wentz fumble, you're going to get it at some point. Yesterday, they got it at the worst possible time. They're driving down, try to win the game. Bam, there goes the turnover. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But outside of that, his yardage he might have threw for 375 yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
QB 9, Herbert. QB 10, Mahomes. Mahomes and Herbert, two of the first quarterbacks going off the board this year in drafts are QB 9 and 10. QB 11, Kirk Cousins. QB 12, Tom Brady. 13 is Daniel Jones.
He's running.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is athletic. He is athletic. That was one thing that Jones does have with this game.
He's running through injury.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to hold on to his job.
Give him credit, man. Good for him.
This offense has not been great, been bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Offense has not been great this season. QB 32, Mac Jones. He's a starter. Winston has missed time. Dak Prescott has missed time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that could be no Trey Lance, right? Justin Fields is a starter. You didn't expect much from him. Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, he stinks. That's a starter. Matthew Stafford, a starter who stinks. Matt Ryan, a starter who stinks. Ryan Tannehill, a starter who stinks. Aaron Rodgers is QB 18. The reason why offense stinks is because quarterback play has declined.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And that last question from Dennis and something you said about CEH reminded me of a decision I've gone back and forth on about 15 times for my Scott Fishbowl roster this weekend. Maybe you guys can help me. The option is my last flex spot. I'm deciding between Gerald Everett and Jerick McKinnon for that last flex spot. I keep going back and forth. They're so close in my mind. I feel like Gerald Everett's the safer play. But I'm leaning McKinnon as the play here.
If this were a normal league, I would go McKinnon, but it's tight end premium. Got to go Everett.
You think it's got to be Everett? Even if Keenan Allen plays?
Got to go Preems, bro.
Got to go Preems. Tommy asked me, is Van
Dreams.
Jefferson back? Do we know if Van Jefferson's going to be back this week? I haven't seen any update on that, but we can look into that for you, Tommy.
They put him on IR like it wasn't week 1. But did they put him on IR week 2? If that case, he would be eligible
It's
to
week
return.
2.
But I don't think
20 days on IR.
So that's
he
not
wouldn't
enough
be ready
days.
yet. He needs one more.
No.
He wouldn't be ready yet.
He was ruled out week 3. Week 3.
Gotcha.
The Friday.
I think he needs one more game.
So he'll miss 4. He'll miss at least 4 games. So that should be, if it was week 3 of Friday, it should be right before week 3 or week 7. Sorry.
Makes sense. So not this week. No Van Jefferson back. Is that our cue to talk about Dante Pettis?
What?
A beautiful pass. Let's see. Oh, that's my bad, guys. I didn't know what was happening. All of a sudden, noise started playing in my ears, and I had no idea where it came from. I thought Keith was dropping a sound randomly in the middle of this. All of a sudden, Dante Pettis hype started playing in my ears. Here I come. Autoplay videos need to be illegal. I was like, what is going on? Why did they just throw a random highlight from last night's game into this out of nowhere?
Like, what are you talking about? Is that our cue to talk about Dante Pettis?
That happened to me before too.
Gave me confidence where I was like, yeah, these guys, we're all in the same boat here. So confused about what Keith is doing.
We're confused by you.
Everyone was confused what I was doing. And Tommy said, I thought he finally lost his mind. Yeah, that's fair right there. Maybe it wasn't an autoplay video because I still haven't found it yet, but the noise did stop. It's somewhere going on. Guys, we had a question here from Lucius. Lucius wanted to know, tight end question. Start Disley, Ingram, or Pitts? Who would you be starting? Would you be starting Will Disley, Evan Ingram, or Kyle Pitts? Coop, which way are you going, Mr. Tight End?
No, I'm starting Ingram right now. I mean, he basically had one bad game against Derwin James, and then the next game was in a hurricane. But beyond that, he's done pretty well target-wise, and he's coming off 10 targets this past week. So, and it's a good matchup for him too, versus the Colts, who's so far this year, bottom 3 team versus the tight end. So I'll get Ingram in there.
God.
Disley ran fewer routes than Noah Fant.
You're not tempted by the Dizzle dog?
Noah Fant ran 20 routes. Disley ran 15, and they threw like 40-something times. Not sure how you could trust that fella.
I mean, it's crazy right now. Like, that your answers, like both of you guys are saying Evan Ingram. I'm about to say Evan Ingram as well, but that hurts a little bit, doesn't it? Like, I know you're excited about saving Evan Ingram, but over Kyle Pitts, like that stings a little.
Brings me great pain. But Pitts has there's like 4 different things going against Pitts. 1, he stinks. 2, he's coming off a hamstring injury. 3, he's playing one of the grittiest,
49ers.
grimy, slow the game down 49ers team. And then 4, the team just isn't throwing it. Like we talked about this yesterday. Joe Flacco has more pass attempts than Marcus Mariota, and Joe Flacco hasn't played in 2 games. Like they're just not throwing. Mariota, I think, is second to last only to Justin Fields in pass attempts. So just can't trust that guy right now. He has a 23% target share, which is legit like top 5 for tight ends. But 23% of not very much is also not very much.
I like that math. That math checks out to me.
Yeah, checks out.
This is how I mentioned the negative, but the positive. How freaking cool that we're saying Evan Ingram in this question, right? That the question is Evan Ingram versus Kyle Pitts, and on the other side, how cool that that's where we are at this part in the season. Dennis here asks, saying y'all always say you aren't kicker experts. We're not kicker experts. My answer to this question is going to be to point you towards Lindelian's Twitter and check out her kicker rankings. Whether you guys have an opinion between Folk, Zerline, Crosby, Lutz, and Gould, or Coop's going to look up those kicker rankings, and we'll answer that question for you. We'll get an answer to your kicker question, Dennis. Guys, let's talk about that football game we watched last night during the first half, or we got to the end of the first half, and I was sitting there thinking, like, no way. This can't happen again, right? Like, we can't have 2 no touchdown Thursday night games in a row. It's not possible. And luckily the teams picked it up a little bit in the second half. But my other thought, Coop, I texted it to you, was funnily enough, the no touchdowns bet would have been a pretty fun sweat in the first half. You know what I mean? Like there were twice where the Bears got down inside the 5-yard line. Didn't come away with a touchdown. Like if you had the no touchdowns bet, if you had no touchdowns first half, like that was maybe the most fun I've had not cheering for touchdowns, or would have had not cheering for touchdowns right there.
It's the most fun I would have had.
That's the most fun I would have had right there. JL, I completely skipped over you. It sounds like maybe you had an answer to that kicker question from Dennis.
Yeah, I think we can answer. So Lutz is pretty interesting. Gould going against Atlanta. Expect them to score a lot of points. Just looking at matchup here. A lot of times when I'm looking at kickers, I want to look for games that I think there's going to be a lot of scores, or at least a lot of field goals, right? Like there's going to be defenses that are stopping these offenses just enough. Yeah. Easy
I never
strategy.
actually
right
thought
there.
about that, dude. Like if you're picking what kicker to start, you want to look for a lot of field goals.
Yeah. Super easy. Super easy. Maybe that'll help you guys next.
Now that I
Maybe next time you want to look at this right.
Now that the secret's out. Yeah. So okay. So where are you leaning with this? Where are you leaning with this?
I'll lean Lutz. I'll lean Lutz out of the group.
Okay.
Lutz. Yeah, I don't mind that against Cincinnati. That could be a decent one. Coop, you got a strong opinion on this?
Yeah, my strong opinion on this is to follow what I believe to be the best kicker analyst. Like we can only spend so much time researching the different things that we research. I spend a lot of time on tight end, means I don't have a lot of time to spend on kicker. That's why I check with Lynn Delians. She's my favorite and a good friend. She has one kicker way above the others here. She has from bottom to top, she has Zerline at 24, Nick Folk at 23. So those are not guys you want to play. Then she has Lutz at 13, Robbie Gould at 12. So JL picking a K1. But in her rankings, she has Mason Crosby at 5 overall for this week. 5.
Wow.
So
Mason Crosby
Going against the Jets.
Going against the Jets, it feels like a safe play, right? Against the Jets. And where's that being played? That's at home in Green Bay, so he knows the conditions. The thing that blew my mind about like the kicker stuff is that listening to Nick Folk talk, the Patriots kicker, it wasn't actually Nick Folk. It was Bill Belichick talking about Nick Folk, and he was like, it was such a funny interview because he's like Nick Folk came here. He goes, and he taught me so many things I didn't know, like little things about different stadiums, like where, in certain stadiums, if you're facing one direction, you can't kick it from a certain distance because, the walls of the stadium are so low that the wind comes in. And if you kick it high enough, like the wind will throw it off course. And he's like, and you see Belichick, and he legit looked mad when he was saying, I can't believe I didn't think of that. And he was like pissed. He was like, I can't believe I never thought of that. And then Nick Folk came in and taught him a few things. So if you're teaching Bill Belichick things about kicking, that's interesting. But like, I just never really thought about that. That like, I know like different weather and different locations, but I never thought about how like one side of a stadium might have a wide open thing, whereas the other side might have these big giant walls, and that affects kicking in both directions.
Yeah, that's wild. Craig's saying that is some real Nick folklore. Yeah, that is some real Nick folklore right there.
That's pretty good.
They say Bill,
good one.
That's pretty decent. Pretty decent.
Yeah, that's a solid one. Craig is the best though. He's the best there is at the puns. There's Bill Parcells they said there was this huge door that would open like to let like in like big equipment and stuff, and he would basically pick the side, and then at halftime he would either open or close those doors, and it would create like a wind tunnel. So like he would open them when like it's at his back and at the other team's face, and then when it would switch at halftime, all of a sudden those doors would mysteriously be closed. So it's like some of these coaches are at least aware of the wind tunnels and whatnot going on.
Absolutely. I see Jimmy Anderson in the chat saying happy
Jimmy
Friday, boys.
Anderson.
What's up, Jimmy? Welcome.
What
Is
up,
taking
Jimmy?
any calls this morning? We're always taking calls. If you want to come on, talk a little bit about that game last night, tell us your feelings about this upcoming game. The one upcoming game that we have this weekend, all of them. You can call in and talk to us about those as well. You just got to download the Better Sports Network app. It's one button to press, the call in button. You can come up here and hang out with us for a little bit. Tommy also had a question for us. He said, "What is Rodrigo Blankenship doing now? Goggles, the goggles kicker that got cut by the Colts. Whatever he's doing, he's disappointing his overbearing father. That's for sure. His dad like runs a website with his highlights, like back from high school, with like the most like self-serving wording ever. That's in that like." Even though the team lost, it was in spite of a stellar kicking performance from Rodrigo Blankenship. Like it's all written like that. Like he's the superstar. He's the main character. So his dad's probably pretty upset right now. Just not happy with his son.
His dad's already working on like the comeback montage video.
Yeah, that's what his dad's doing.
Eye of the Tiger.
Window movie maker.
Yeah.
You know his dad's like sending emails with highlight tape to all the different NFL teams, links to his blog about how good he was.
Last time I heard, he did get a workout with the Jaguars. They didn't
I
go
was
with
just
him,
reading
but,
that in September, late September.
So I don't know.
We had some questions in here before we keep talking about that Commanders Bears game. Monir said, "Should I trade Walker and ETN for Connor, half PPR?" So Walker and ETN for James Conner. You guys doing that?
No.
can't
Keep
do it.
Walker and ETN.
Kenneth Walker could be just as good as James Conner, and James Conner's hurt right now. I mean,
Yeah, and ETN. I think
Yep, I'm with you guys.
two of these guys. Yeah, might as well just keep that.
depth.
Maybe potential late season wild card on your bench.
Yeah, because look at Breece Hall right now. He's really starting to separate himself from Michael Carter, and I don't think it's crazy for Travis Etienne to eventually do that along with James Robinson, right? He's the future.
Yeah.
Dennis in here said, "Last cue for today. I have to drop one player because of a damn bye week. Man,
Damn bye week.
damn bye weeks.
Damn bye week.
Said, I'm good at RB, thin at wide receiver. Drop one. Garrett Wilson, Michael Thomas, or Cam Akers. Garrett Wilson, Michael Thomas, or Cam Akers. JL, which one of those players are you dropping?
It was Garrett Wilson, Michael Thomas, or Cam Akers. I guess I would drop.
They're good at running back, thin at wide receiver, was what they said. If that affects your decision at all.
I would try and trade Akers if you can. I don't know if you can though.
He's not really even like it's the split there. They made it very clear this week what it's going to be. It's Akers on rundowns and Darrell Henderson on pass downs. So Darrell Henderson to me ends up being the more, he's not as safe, but we know mathematically that even in standard leagues, targets are more valuable than carries, right? So I don't know. I don't really trust Akers. I would probably drop Akers.
That's where I am too.
It's Michael Thomas or Akers. So
it's Akers for me. Drop Akers. Get him out of there.
Guys, the
2-for-1 trade. Nice. That Commanders Bears game, we were talking a little bit about it before, but Coop, I mentioned the one sweat that would have been fun, but the other one, you mentioned yesterday on the show that you'd be willing to go down all the way to Ryan Griffin as the first touchdown scorer on those odds. And they design a beautiful play. Ryan Griffin is wide open in the end zone. All Justin Fields has to do is toss the ball up where he can grab it, and he just can't get it to him. Misses him wide open. You were that close to the best first touchdown call of the season.
Yeah, what it's been so far. I think what was it, like 40 plus 4,700? So it was like something around plus 5,000, I want to say. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's a $5 to win $250 bet, right? Like
Tommy said he had that prop $10, no joke. Put it on.
Tommy was looking at $500 if Justin Fields could just play quarterback for 1 second. Right. Naturally, he could not.
No, he couldn't. It was pretty rough. We saw some pretty rough throws out of Justin Fields yesterday. But again, I feel like this is a couple weeks in a row now. We're seeing flashes, right? Of like the quarterback that the Bears thought Justin Fields was going to be, who we thought Justin Fields was going to be. Like I'm seeing it. I see it out there, and it's making me believe again. Like he's giving me some hope with some of those runs and some of those throws, especially when he gets outside of that pocket. Like, dude is magic.
Watching Justin Fields is like, it's like bowling, right? Like you go out there and in your mind it's going to be great, and then you're like, oh dude, this sucks. But then you roll a strike, right? But then you roll a strike and you're like, this is easy. Why don't you just do that every time, right? Like he rolled out and threw a laser to Mooney sometime in the third, and I was like, yeah, just do that every time, dude. What are we doing? Right? And then the very next one, he rolls a gutter ball, and you remember that you're not any good at bowling. Like that's what it's like watching Justin Fields.
Analogy. It's like going bowling Most of the time you're like, man, this sucks. It sounds like fun, but
when you
this
go,
is-
you're like, oh, I would be so good. You think you're gonna be so good every time, right?
I am the world's streakiest bowler. Like it's straight gutter balls or a couple strikes. And I remember one time I was on a date my freshman year of college, a bowling date, right? There was this girl that I like from one of my classes that I asked if she wanted
Did
to
you
hang
take
out.
her
She'd
to
been
the on-campus bowling alley?
So she had been taking a class at Clemson about bowling, a leisure skills class. And that's what that was where she had been bowling, and they make you keep score by hand. And she wanted to show me all of that. Like she knows how to keep score by hand. So we go to the on-campus bowling alley. We're also freshmen, don't have cars. And we're out there and I get up and no lie, first 5 frames, 5 strikes in a row. I've never done this in my life. I am feeling like a king. Okay. I'm like, this is God telling me this is meant to be. This is the girl I'm supposed to be with. I'm impressing her. Like I'm feeling on top of the world. I go up and I'm like, I've never been more confident in my life that this 6th one's going to be a strike, right? Like it's just happening. Like everything's going right. I take the ball back, go to swing. And the next thing I know, I'm on the ground and I am not quite sure what happened. I took the ball and I slammed it so hard into my own ankle that I knocked myself off my feet. My foot was so swollen that I couldn't get it back in the shoe that I went to the bowling alley with. And the girl had to help walk me back to my dorm, with my arm around her as I was skipping back to the dorm. We did not have a second date after that.
So,
it was, that was the end of the first and only date.
So you were the greatest bowler all time until you suffered a tragic self-inflicted injury.
I suffered a tragic self-inflicted injury.
She
Yeah,
nailed your own ankle with a bowling ball.
Reverse rookie of the year.
Right, that seems impossible, right?
I could just picture you with this chick too.
Year is just everyone's experience with broken.
Yeah, so dude, that's I could just picture you too though.
So
After the third strike, you're walking back. You're like, how do you score that one? Yeah. They teach you that in class, and then next thing you know, you're lying on your back.
100%. Tommy said, Simon, your life is a movie in the making. Who would play you? Kamel Nanjiani would play me. I freaking love that guy. That's who I want to play me. He's so funny. He's going to play me in the movie. That would
what were you thinking taking a bowling major on a date though? How did you think that was going to
go? It wasn't a bowling major.
She took one bowling leisure activity class.
She's taking one credit hour bowling
what are you
class.
Thinking, dude?
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have taken that bowling major out on the date. That was my bad.
Dude, she was so happy as soon as you injured yourself because she was sitting there like, oh, this guy's about to show me up and he is never going to stop talking about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was way better than the time I took the archery major on the date. That one didn't go as well, but that's a story for another time.
Shot her in the
not again.
Not again.
Yo, archery's scary.
Kumail Nanjiani. Oh man.
Now I got to go watch a movie with him in it. He makes me giggle nonstop. He's one of those guys who's just
I think he's in Goodfellas.
He's so is he?
He's 3 years old in Goodfellas.
I've never seen Goodfellas, but I've never been more confident that something you said was a lie.
Not true. I'm just trying to trick you into watching good movies, dude.
Hey, maybe I'll watch Goodfellas today, Coop. No more shows after this. I might have a second to turn that on. Goodfellas or Shawshank Redemption? What's higher on the priority list?
Shawshank.
I think Shank is more like if you're trying to cross off ones that people would be upset if you haven't seen, it's probably Shawshank.
So that was the number 1 movie on IMDb for a long time.
I like Goodfellas better.
Squirrel Bob saying Shawshank. And then keep saying Goodfellas. None New Yorkers
not a show, Squirrel Bob.
think Shawshank, and he meant non-New Yorkers.
Nobody here in New York likes the Shawshank guy.
Yeah, we like Goodfellas because they talks like us.
They talk. I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers.
I like all the answers in the chat. It's just half the people saying Shawshank, half the people saying Goodfellas. It's just going to be a fight no matter what. It's going to make people upset no matter what.
Literally, Tommy said something that every time I mentioned the thing I mentioned yesterday about finding and fixing up shoes, every time somebody goes, get your shine box. And that's from a movie you haven't seen, so you wouldn't get it. Yeah. But Tommy in the chat, Coop, get your shine box. Yeah, you have to. Now he's
so IMDb, it's still number 1 on IMDb. Goodfellas, 17. Number 17. So does that answer your question, Simon?
No,
haven't seen those movies.
It does not answer my question because I forgot to listen to what you were saying. So I just
Real-
heard you say numbers, and I'm not sure what they
Real
were
real
related to.
quick. While you got that list up, Jay,
Perfect.
let's hit that list. And Simon, you give us a yes or no on seeing these. I'll join you.
We'll do top 10. All right. Shawshank Redemption. Coops, yes. Simon's
No,
no.
I've
Godfather.
not seen that. Let's keep score. I've
Coop?
not seen The
Coops,
Godfather.
yes.
Of course, yes.
All right. The Dark Knight, 2008.
Simon, please.
Yes, I've seen The Dark Knight. I've seen the whole trilogy.
Yes.
Okay. Number 4 is God.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
as
Simon,
you
if
can imagine, I haven't
Simon,
seen the second one.
if you had seen Godfather Part 2 but not 1, that would actually make me more upset than anything. That would make me.
All right.
Simon's like, yeah, I've read the Chamber of Secrets, but I
Wait
never
till we
read
get
that
to part
Stone
3.
one. Yeah.
All right. Number 5, 12 Angry Men, 1957.
I've not
I
seen
have
that.
seen that.
Yeah.
I
That
watched
one
that
is
in school.
that one's crazy because it's filmed in one. It's 12 dudes in one
Just
room.
the whole room.
and it's
Yeah.
captivating. Captivating.
yeah.
film.
So are we through 4 movies, and so far Coop has seen all 4? Is that correct?
We're through 5 movies, and Coop has seen all 5. Yes.
Okay, and I've seen 1. Just Batman is all I've seen.
Just the
But
one very popular.
I'll tell you
Batman.
this: like, if you're going to take one of those and put it way on the back burner, it has to be 12 Angry Men. It's an older movie, and it's again, it's 12 dudes in a room. So you definitely got to watch The Godfather.
I think I've
before
seen
you
that
watch
one
it.
before. What happens after there's 12 dudes in a room?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's the whole movie.
Huh,
That's
there's
all
a little
movie.
more action in the one I saw.
No, I watched that one in school, high school, I think. All right, number 6 is Schindler's List, 1993.
I have
Liam
seen.
Neeson.
No, I mixed it up with Sophie's Choice. I've not seen Schindler's List. Dang it!
Also watched that one.
So I haven't seen Sophie's Choice. Is that one?
But you've seen Schindler's
oh,
List?
you idiot! Haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, of
Sophie's
course I've seen
Choice.
Schindler's List. Is that
All
one
right,
also
Coop
sad?
is 6 for 6. Coop is 6 for 6. Simon's 1 for 6. Number 7 is Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Oh, I've seen it 100 times. Does that count?
That does not count.
100, dude? That movie's like 3 hours long.
It was my comfort movie for a very long time. That one, where like just while I was doing work, I would just throw it on in the background. Like I have watched that movie, the director's cut, in its entirety so many times.
Have you seen that Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, Coop?
Yeah, I have. Awesome.
All right, Coop, you are 7 for 7. Number 8 is Pulp Fiction, 94.
Amazing.
I
Simon?
I've never seen Pulp. Oh, yeah,
I haven't
that's
seen
right.
Pulp Fiction.
There's one scene in Pulp Fiction I think you would not like at all.
And so the next one, number
It
What the
involves
hell does that mean?
it involves a large because Simon doesn't
A lot
like
of
the whole,
skin?
like, piercing skin. It involves
yes,
a large
yes.
needle, like a very large
yeah.
needle.
Ooh,
All
I
right,
got
number
these
9.
cuts on my knuckles the other day, and it really reminded me how openable skin is because it's right on a crease, so
Please.
it like spreads. Whoa!
If you keep
Okay.
saying stuff like that, Keith is gonna play that stupid thumb thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Uh,
All right, number
What's number
9,
9?
Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh yeah, you know
Assuming
it.
you both have seen that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And number 10, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Of course. Clint
Wait,
Eastwood.
that's
seen
a
it, Coop?
movie. I thought that was just a shitty college football T-shirt where it was
Dude,
like
No, it's an
you've
old-
never gone
old
through a
Western.
phase. You've never gone through a phase of just watching
Spaghetti
mad
westerns?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're good.
I have
Dude,
not.
in that I'm not sure if it's that one or one of the other ones, but or actually most of them. He hardly talks in the entire movie, and his character doesn't even have a name.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I
no-
have seen that movie. That's a
He
good
never
one.
says his name, and no one ever calls him by a name. He just walks around just like grunting and shooting people.
Hey,
Dude, there's so many good movies on this list.
I got I'm like I know 2 of them were Lord of the Rings and 1 of them was Batman, but I did not expect to get to 3 whenever we went through the top 10 movies on IMDb. Like that was not what I was expecting to get to. I'm impressed with myself. I saw none of the like real movies that got brought up, but it was 3.
Have you
for
seen
me.
all those, JL?
I've seen every single one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because you're normal.
I went in high school. I went through my literature teacher and I started going through this list like separately. Like we'd watch it and then during like lunch or something talk about them. So I've
Real
seen
quick,
a lot off this list.
I got the list up now too. Scroll down. See how far you have to scroll to find one that you haven't seen.
Oh, mine stops at 1. Done with that list right there.
I think I might have.
Maria
different
said
lists
she
than
got
you.
3 out of 10 and said she's impressed with herself too. And Jay got 6 out of 10 with 2 of those that he didn't see
Joe.
being Lord of the Rings.
Top 100 greatest movies all time. Is that the list you're on?
Yeah. No, top 250.
Top 250.
Man,
I think Life is Beautiful is the first one that I haven't seen. It's
What
on this
number is
list.
that?
And that's number 25. But I've seen almost all the movies, a bunch of the movies after that. So that's
Ooh, I don't think
Absolutely
I've seen.
killing
I haven't
it,
seen
though.
that one you just mentioned, so that might be.
I have not seen that one.
That's
Life
your
is
homework.
Beautiful.
How is 7 on here, dude?
Seven's a good movie.
It's a good movie, but is it the 19th best movie of all time?
I don't know. You ever seen City of God?
Oh my god, I love that movie.
It's a
Although
long one,
I
but
don't
it's
speak
really
Portuguese.
Yeah,
Jimmy
neither do I.
said role model should be in that top 10.
Oh,
yeah,
so-
where is
Wait, have
role
you
models
seen
on that list?
I've never
I
seen
don't think
Seven.
it's on here.
Seven Samurai is the first one I haven't seen. I've not seen Seven Samurai.
You haven't seen Seven Samurai? Seven Samurai is
No.
really good. It's super long though. It's like
How
a
long
long
can we
black and
just-
white.
How long can we just ask each other if we've seen a movie? Like, do you think we can keep this going for another 20 minutes?
Forever.
Have you seen
We can
this
keep
movie?
this going on forever.
I've seen this movie. Have you seen
Jimmy
this
Anderson,
movie?
great pick, dude. Role models should be in the top 10. That movie.
Role Models is a pretty good movie.
You're the king.
I,
Wheeler. You're the king.
I've watched Role Models, but in Spanish. I with subtitles, but I wasn't really fully paying attention, so I have like a vague understanding of what went down in that movie. It was just on in the background playing in Spanish whenever I was in Mexico one time, and that's the extent to which I've seen Role Models, but probably belongs in the top 10. Probably belongs in the top 10. Guys, the Commanders-Bears game last night, we talked a little bit about Justin Fields looking magic, but Darnell Mooney had a fine game. It wasn't a like world-beating game. It wasn't what I was hoping for at the beginning of the season, but 12 targets, that's what you love to see. 7 receptions, 68 yards. In a PPR league, you're pretty happy with what Darnell Mooney did last night. Dale, is Darnell Mooney, is he safe from being a drop candidate with this target volume? Because I feel like people were talking about him being someone you could drop from your fantasy teams. 12 targets is nothing to sneeze at. And he should have had a touchdown.
Nothing to sneeze at. He's got a 29.7% target share in this offense, in which case, what Coop said, 29.7% of nothing is not very valuable. Darnell Mooney still, like, even on a bad offense, I'm fine rostering the player with the highest target share with a 29.7% target share, just in the hope that Chicago is able to put something together better than they have in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I can't drop guys like that, especially when they're finally throwing at least a little bit. You know, I mean, like the thing is, Cole Kmet unfortunately didn't get the targets himself, so if he hasn't been dropped, he probably is droppable now. But I mean, Mooney played 92% of the snaps too, so he's out there every play getting the targets. They went to him when the game was on the line. Got to keep that guy.
Yeah, 100%. And he should have had that touchdown at the end of the game. On the initial play, I thought he had, like, whenever I just watched it live before they showed the replay, I was like, oh, touchdown for sure. I didn't see the ball come out the second time, right? Like the initial contact with the ball was over the goal line. Like he had it. If he would have just held on to it, it would have been a touchdown, but he fumbled it. Great play by the defender getting him out of that end zone before he secured the ball. And no touchdown, but like he was that close. If he can just hold on to that ball right there, it's a touchdown for him. And we're looking at him as a 20-point wide receiver this week, right? Instead of around that 14-point range. But I'm with you. You can't drop this dude right now. He is not droppable. Now, is this guy startable? Dante Pettis with 7 targets yesterday, 4 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Almost had a second touchdown as well. Is Pettis back on the menu? Is he someone you can start? Is this a resurgence for Dante Pettis?
Don't say is Pettis back on the menu.
No,
definitely not.
Short answer, no.
Send it
Long
back.
answer, no. Like he's just not. He's just not playing enough. He's not playing enough snaps, man. He's playing like 2/3 of the snaps at most. Like if it was a situation where, like, for me to start the second wide receiver on a not so good offense, I need those two guys to both be playing every snap, right? Like I'll start Mooney because he plays 90% of the snaps. I can't take a bad quarterback and start a dude that's playing 2/3 of the snaps. If at any point he gets to that level, then we can start talking about it. Because most teams, if you really think about it, have 2 guys that play every snap and then a third guy that rotates with like fullbacks and second tight ends and 2 running backs or whatever they want to do. So most teams have 2 guys that play every snap. Some teams only 1. And Pettis just isn't one of those guys. So I can't trust him.
Cool Star 46 says, tip of advice. Don't ever pick a Commanders player.
That's just the tip of the advice. I want to hear the rest of the advice, though. If that's just the tip, Coolster.
Right.
If you could give us the rest of that
Just a tip
advice,
of
that would be
advice.
fantastic.
The coolster pops in. He's like, "Here's a tip of advice.
Tip of advice for you.
I'm the coolster." No canola.
Also, Maria said, "What about Stick It?" And Jay said, "Maria, this is a family show."
What is Stick It?
Is that
Stick
the
It? You never seen
cheerleading
Stick It?
movie?
The gymnastics? It's
Oh.
gymnastics.
Of course not, dude. I've seen
Oh
every.
man, you were about to have all the gymnastics stands come and drag you, Simon, for saying cheerleader.
I'm so sorry. There are cheerleading movies. I was thinking of Step It Up, right? Is that what I was thinking of?
Step
was
It
gonna
Up.
have a-
Step It Up. This dancing one.
I watch every cheesy dance.
Step It Up might be
I
cheerleader.
love
It is
those,
dance.
dude. I love that.
There is a cheerleader one for sure.
Every-
though.
Is there like some sort of like contract out there that was signed that every single one of those dance movies has to have that song in it that's like engine number 9 on the knee. like every single one of those movies, like it has to be in there somewhere, no matter what it is. Have you
That's
noticed
hilarious.
that? Yeah.
I don't
On
even know
New
the
York
song.
Transit line.
Engine number 9.
Yeah, like, dude. Hey, anybody that knows those movies knows what I'm talking about.
And then
Bring It
Adam
On
said
has-
Ferris Bueller's Day Off is also a classic. And Jimmy saying, I was thinking that too, Adam. You guys like Ferris Bueller? Are you Ferris Bueller fans?
I've seen it once. It was good. It doesn't stand out where I'm like, that's one of my favorite movies of all time, right? But I liked it. I had fun watching it. It's been a while. I probably haven't seen it in 10 years.
When I was like a kid, I was Team Ferris, and now that I'm an adult, I'm like, Ferris kind of a jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
he was kind of
Well, I love how we got back to movies, dude. Keith is gonna be so pissed. Keith is gonna start like forcing us to go to break.
Adam saying, I'm playing against Wentz and Curtis Samuel this week. They have a combined 6.7 points.
Yeah, nice start for your week. That's a coolster move right there.
Coolster
starting
move.
with
Tip of
those kind of
advice.
points. And Coolster said, I got lucky with Brian Robinson, but damn, does Curtis Samuel disappoint me again?
I got a new
Brian
show
Robinson-
idea, dude. It's called Coolster and Mr. Cool. I'm Mr. Cool. He's the Coolster, and it's just me, and I just read his comments all show. But every time I read them, I say the last couple words like this. I go like, I got lucky with
Coolster.
Brian Robinson, but damn, did Curtis Samuel disappoint again? Thursday Night Football is so bad that we're talking movies.
And talking movies. Jimmy Anderson.
Jimmy,
You know,
it is me.
It is kind of
Jimmy.
funny, even as we're actively trying to get back to football, it just like keeps on worming its way back to movies. Like all of our brands are like, don't talk about this game. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like just
Dale basically told Keith to shut up in the chat. He was like, he's like, give the chat what they want. If the chat keeps bringing up movies,
Listen, if the chat wants to talk, we're here for the chat. If the chat wants to talk about movies,
we'll talk
we're here to
movies,
talk
dude.
about movies. You want football? We'll talk about football. You tell
Oh,
us.
dude.
Yeah, well, we got a question from Loaf. What's up,
Loaf?
Loaf? Welcome in. It's a
Loaf.
start 3. Diggs, Kirk, Waddle, Myers, Moore. Diggs, Kirk,
Ooh.
Waddle, Myers, Moore. Got to start 3. Well, Diggs, lock it in.
Auto
Diggs
start.
is 100%.
I think Waddle's an auto start as well.
It's probably like looking at these names, then I think it's Myers for me. I think it goes Jacoby, Waddle, and Diggs for me. Those are the 3 guys that stand out. I think
Very
it's close
difficult
with
to
Kirk.
trust
It's
Kirk.
close
Kirk-
with Kirk.
Kirk is so like Kirk goes well above like the Dante Pettis types because he does play every snap, but Kirk's kind of he's being a bit of an Amari Cooper as of late, has he not? Like
In
he's
what
either-
way?
he either has a big game or he has 1 catch for 6 yards. Like
Yeah.
that's the Amari Cooper style. That's always been his style.
You know, maybe
Yeah.
I don't like Christian Kirk enough. That tends to be my favorite kind of player. The ones where like it elicits an extreme emotional reaction from me at the end of the week, no matter what, either positive or negative. Like I don't want someone I'm just fine with. And if that's going to be the Christian Kirk experience, I'm in.
I think I would go.
Simon's
Christian Kirk
such like an emo kid football player. He's like, I don't
Yes.
care how they do, as long as they make me feel something.
Jill, where are you going here? Which one of those players are you sitting? Or are you starting? You
Starting
have
at
to start
3.
3.
I'm going Diggs, Waddle, and Kirk.
You're taking Kirk. JL's the real emo guy. He wants that emo Kirk.
He wants
experience
those
over
feelings.
there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you though. Go big, man, because Kirk has higher upside than Jacoby Myers, right? And you can't start DJ Moore with Peach at QB, but maybe keep an eye on Peach.
PJ Walker.
Peach and Peach, though, I like the sound of that.
Peach and
Tommy-
Peach.
Peach and
Peach
Peach.
shows.
Tommy had a question for us. Said best sports movies of all time. Basketball.
Easy.
Field of Dreams.
Oh, basketball is so good, dude.
It's
Coop has to quit basketball too. Guy's like,
probably basketball. It's got to be, right?
Is
You should have been
Gladiator a sports
gone.
movie?
No, the number one
mean-
sports movie is Remember the Titans. 100.
That's a pretty
Is
good one.
Gladiator a sports movie? Is such a JL question. Like that is such a way to weasel around that question.
At
and pick
one
such a
point in
good
time, it was.
movie.
Yeah. JL's favorite sports movie.
All right,
Gladiator.
excuse me. I won't
Favorite
say it.
Christmas
I won't say
movie?
anything.
No, I
Die
like
Hard.
it, JL. It's just so it's very you to be like.
I'm
Gladiator
looking
did
at this
play a sport.
IMDb list trying to find the top sports movie on here. And that's why I asked because
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any.
What is it? It's got like Hoosiers. Like
Star Wars a
no,
sports
it's
movie?
Remember the Titans, bro. We are gonna do up downs until blue is no longer tired and thirsty.
Could it be? It might be Remember the Titans. Maybe Air Bud. Air Bud was a
Airbud's
classic.
pretty
over
good.
there.
It's Reservoir
Air Bud.
Dogs.
Ooh,
A
Squirrel
dog
Bob.
movie?
Squirrel Bob dropping a Sandlot up in here. Oh, Happy Gilmore.
Dude, I just watched Sandlot.
This- hey,
Sandlot's pretty
This
good.
is gonna be a bracket. We're doing a
Yeah,
bracket.
we got to
next
do a
week.
sports movie bracket.
Yeah.
We'll do one
Submit-
of these.
Yeah. So tweet at us. We'll put a tweet up. Tweet at us with your favorite sports movies, and we'll put together a
Coolster
bracket.
says Moneyball. Moneyball's
Let's
a
do
good
a 64. I've got a lot of
course.
movies to watch
Course,
before
of
then. We
course,
need to
yeah.
bracket a week in
one.
advance
Moneyball.
so I can start watching the movies because I probably haven't
Yes,
seen all of them.
yeah, you need
Like-
to watch that.
Like we're just gonna go through a bracket. And it's gonna be like, yeah, I've seen Air Bud
Will.
and basketball, and that's about all I got
Will.
right there.
Will is on brand with Kingpin, but that opens
Kingpin.
another JL question. Is The Big Lebowski a sports movie?
That's a good question. I think
We're
it is.
gonna have to think about that one, guys.
I'm asking that on Twitter right now.
Guys, coming up, we're going to be talking about these Sunday games that we have coming up this weekend, as well as Vinny Iyer joining the show to help us break down some of these. And then later in the show, our friend Aaron Ladd, sports anchor on News Kansas City's KSHB 41 News, and Arrowhead Pride contributor is joining the show to talk some Chiefs with us. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
Surely, kickers never retire, I think. They just continue playing for all eternity. Like, there's only ever been 30 NFL kickers.
Yeah.
They're always readily available too. It seems like, you know what I mean. Like they just get called up. They're like, you kicked for us 10 years ago, right? Why don't you
Let's run it back. Let's
I
run it.
imagine
Graham
every
Gano. Why
single
don't you pop
kicker
in?
that gets the call is on a high school football field somewhere just practicing field goals after hours. Like it's like 9 p.m. and they're out there just at the local high school kicking field goals, and the phone rings. They get a call and they're like, yeah, I'm ready. I've been practicing for this.
I have an amazing kicker story. If you guys have a second.
I got a
So,
couple.
The number one all-time field goal kicker is Adam Vinatieri. The next two guys are Morton and Gary Anderson, right? Gary Anderson was a dude from like South Africa that just played rugby and soccer. He just could absolutely boot the ball, right? They bring him over and he does like a tryout and he's just absolutely crushing the ball. And all these colleges are like, dude, we want you to come kick field goals for us. And he goes, I don't even want to play football. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, so if I can come to your school and play soccer, I'll also, in the fall, I'll kick for the football team. And Syracuse was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're on the soccer team. Like, come on. And he went to Syracuse to play soccer, but also kick field goals. And then he ended up being a top 3 point scorer in the NFL all the time.
That's ridiculous.
And his answer to recruiters was, I don't want to play football. I'll do it in my spare time.
Yeah. He's like, you got a spot for me on the soccer team. Syracuse is like, yeah, we got a spot for you.
We don't even care about our soccer
We
team.
don't even care.
We
We
can
don't have a
totally have
soccer
that spot.
Right? They had to like cobble together a soccer team. They're like, yeah, this guy's the captain.
Oh my God. It's like Accepted, the movie, but they just like had to throw together a whole fake
Somehow-
soccer team.
Somehow they still got Justin Long.
Right? Yeah. Like, Adam Sandler's the coach. And dude, it's imagine they win the national championship. That's a movie, dog. Yeah.
Boom!
Someone call up Disney. Yeah, we just wrote a movie for you, Disney. This has Disney sports movie written all over. I'm borderline crying right here just thinking about this movie right now.
Dude, the story gets even crazier. Like I should have looked it up again, but like it was like a high school coach that went and found him, and then that high school coach ended up being somebody crazy famous that like coached for the Rams.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. JL had to go watch Airbud real quick, get a quick refresher, but he will be right back. Jimmy in here saying, not trying to plug it all. Dude, plug away. But he's saying they have a podcast called Beers and Bets. Not huge, but we did a similar bracket a few months back. So if you guys want to see Jimmy's movie bracket, sports movie bracket, go check it out on Beers and Bets.
If you're a regular here in the chat, dude, plug your stuff. If you're a porn bot out on YouTube, come on.
Plug your stuff.
Plug your stuff.
Plug your stuff. You know, I mean, dude, honestly, though, the porn
That's
bots
like
are
a triple entendre with a porn bot.
Ooh,
a bot. You
that's-
plug in a robot. Plug could be sexual, and plug is in put your porn stuff in the chat. That was just like a JL. Bravo. I don't even know if you meant the rare triple entendre right there. That was beautiful.
Yeah, you're
Thank
Mr.
you.
Cool
Thank
now. The dude, the thing is, the porn bot is a regular here. So I guess that
That's true.
You know, they do have the green light. And I cannot believe that nobody said until we started this conversation like, you know, just after 8. We made it all the way to 8:10 until someone said Space Jam. Space Jam might need to be a 1 seed on this bracket. The original Space Jam.
Pretty good.
I'm
Pretty good.
I'm about to get some
Pretty good.
I
That movie is
rewatched it.
phenomenal.
I rewatched it in preparation for the new one coming out, and it was not as enticing as I remember it being. I wasn't like drawn in as much as I was as a kid. I was just like, I found myself getting bored while watching it. Same thing happened when I watched that Peach Dragon movie, where like I remember it being great as a kid, and I go to watch it, and I'm just a little bit bored. It didn't hold up for me. People can hate me if they want, but
You know what's a great
love
movie?
it. What?
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams? That is a great movie.
Yeah.
Man, we really have to do this bracket over here. Also, we got JB Barry in the chat saying, isn't it crazy that this will be the last show that Coop is Coop before he becomes Andrew Rose this weekend?
That is pretty crazy.
And Tommy's saying
Beautiful
this is Coop's bachelor party. Talking movies, quotes, just need some brewskis.
Just
Maybe we
the
should
boys,
break out a
dude.
brewski at 7 a.m. for Coop's bachelor party right here. That would be
8
that would be
8
fun. We
a.m.
could tip it
somewhere,
off
bro.
of- yeah, it's 8 a.m. for you guys. Coop's like right here, right now where I am. It's 8 a.m. We're ready
dude.
to go. Also, I saw
party
Jimmy
must have had
saying,
100 Bud Lights.
Jimmy asking if you guys got a number I could call, send it in here. Unfortunately, we do not have a number right now. The options to call in are over on that app. It's that one button, but maybe we can figure out what's going on with your app while you're unable to download it over there.
That's right, Tommy.
Is
I'm immune. I'm immune to Bud Lights now. So I was
Beelzebubs.
after 100. Those are for hydration purposes.
100%.
Basically.
Drinking
Bud
a bunch
Lights.
of Beelzebubs. Yeah, the Beelzebubs.
That's Fate's Iron Coop on his bachelor party, and he's just like, yeah, I'm 17 Beelzebubs deep.
What's up, dude? You caught me during the hour and a half that I was not in the pool out of 24 hours. So yeah, it's pretty pruny weekend.
Pretty pruny.
Pretty pruny. That's the way all my best weekends are described, as pretty pruny. You guys, after talking about that game last night for a bit, the Bears Commanders game, I think it's time to talk about a game that maybe we're a little bit more excited about. This Bills Chiefs game going on Sunday at 4:26 p.m. Eastern time. It's kickoff for this Bills Chiefs game. Bills visiting Kansas City. They're 2.5-point favorites on the road. A beautiful 53.5 point over under on this one. Quite a ways from our optimistic 37.5 point over under in yesterday's game. This is looking like it's setting up to be a showdown. But JL, do you think that the Kansas City offense can get it going against this Buffalo defense? Like, are we going to see the shootout that we're expecting, or is Buffalo going to be able to shut them down?
No, I don't think you can. I don't think it's possible to shut down the Kansas City Chiefs offense unless you're, what was it, Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl? That was pretty good. They did shut down the Chiefs offense that one time. But mostly, no. Go ahead, Coop.
I was gonna say the offensive line is much better now. And now I'll throw it back to you.
The offensive line is much better. I think it's much more difficult now to shut down this Chiefs offense, despite the Bills having a fantastic defense. So I think this will be a high scoring game. I would take the over in it.
The over on 53.5. Oh, I hope you're right. That's a fun bet
JL,
right there.
dude. JL's putting that game on the big TV, boy.
Let's go. Big TV
Let's
time.
go, dude. Big TV time. Smell you later, Cardinals.
What's the
Seahawks.
total?
53.5 Jail said, "What's the total?" After he said he's taking the over.
I thought it was 53.5, but then I was just
It's like the highest. It's like the
What
highest.
are we talking about again?
Highest over under the entire season. Jail confidently takes the over without even knowing what it is. Let's go, dude. Put that on the jumbotron.
Put
Let's
it
go.
on the jumbotron.
You guys taking the coward's way out here? Taking the under?
No, I'm not touching it.
I'm queen being it. They're gonna score exactly 53.5.
Yeah, there's a weird rule where you can score half a point. Man, I learned a rule that I had not heard about before last week. I was like reading an article and then something came up where it talked about a play and I was like, wait, that's a rule. And I started reading about it. In the last 2 minutes of a game, the offensive team cannot progress the ball from a fumble recovered by a different player than the one who fumbled it. But it's only in the last 2 minutes of the game that is applicable. Or maybe it's of the half. Maybe it's each half. But like that's the rule. And I get why it's there. It's so teams can't like on last ditch plays where they're just laddering, just like fumble the ball forward and hope their team gets it. But I thought that was interesting that they allow that up to 2 minutes, but they won't allow that after the 2 minute warning.
Because if you do that pre 2 minutes being left, pre like a desperation play, then you have cojones.
Yeah.
Then you're losing to this. Then you're the Steelers losing to the Bills
you're just
by
turning
40
over
points.
the ball, probably.
Yeah, the Holy Roller. That's the name right there. Tommy got it. Holy Roller.
The Holly roller is what he said.
The Holly roller.
Holly Jolly.
Or
roller.
Holly.
It's the Holly Jolly fumble. Somebody
pretty
was
good,
supposed to.
Coop.
Somebody was supposed to jump in and say something. Yeah.
Say
Well, that's nice.
hello.
We're getting married tomorrow.
Coop. This is like your bachelor show, bachelor party show.
What's up?
What do you
Mr.
want to do
Welcome
for your
to-
bachelor
It's
party
Mr. Cool
show?
and the Coolster.
What's the last thing you want to do on the show before you get married?
I think what
You
I
wanna
want
watch
to
that
do,
thumb commercial?
what I want to do for my bachelor, since it's my bachelor party, I do whatever I want. I would like to go through the TD scorer props for this Bills Kansas City Chiefs game we're talking about, and see if we can identify the deepest player that we would even consider betting on, like a Ryan Griffin, for instance. Because I'm hot on these right now. I'm
I
hot.
thought you'd ask for something more fun.
Nah, dude. Let's just talk movies. We just talk movies all day.
Do you want me to take my shirt off? Would that be helpful?
That would actually be
hear me out here.
detrimental.
Simon just takes his shirt off.
Yeah, that'd be detrimental.
I'll leave the
for what
jacket on, but the shirt's gonna come off.
I think that's
Does that
yeah.
work?
Could you do that? I think that'd be more bachelor party vibe.
Ooh,
Get that going.
ooh. You ever
that
just
going.
catch a whiff of your own stank? Like you, man. We gotta wash those pits after this. That was pretty gross right there.
I was gonna say no, but the answer is yeah.
Yeah,
That's
just
the answer.
absolutely yes. Yeah, let's do it, Coop. Let's look at this first touchdown score prop. See how far down we want to go. Travis Kelce's the favorite at plus 750, tied with Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Devin Singletary, and Josh Allen right behind them at plus 1,000. But it gets deeper down towards the bottom. As you could imagine, it gets deeper the further down you go. I'm looking at some of these names.
I had a name in
This is
mind.
spicy.
I had a name in mind that I was like, oh, perfect. But before I looked at it, I was like, I'll request this because I already have a name. But the odds are too high on the guy that I thought I was being sneaky with, which was Quentin Morris. He actually ran like 30 routes last week with Dawson Knox out, but he's plus 2,000. That's it. Like, there's definitely like Patrick Mahomes QB sneak is plus 3,000. I think I would bet on that before I bet on Quentin Morris.
Yeah, for sure. Sky Moore, 4,500.
Yeah. Dude's hard to
Buffalo
play.
defense,
Not
4,600.
great.
Chiefs defense plus 5,500.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not bad.
the Chiefs defense being that deep kind of ruins the whole thing. Reggie Gilliam, dude, fullback tutty.
Michael Burton.
No.
Here's where I'm
Who
going.
is that?
I'm going with a guy who's had a rushing touchdown for this team. He's already matched his target total from last season. Last season, he only had 10 targets. He's already hit that this year. Know what I mean? It's only
Jenny
out from here.
Fortson?
Noah Gray. Noah Gray, I will take as the first-time touchdown scorer. We've seen them use him on the goal line, right? Like as a back. So it's not preposterous that they get down there and then they plug in Noah Gray for the touchdown. That's where I'm going to go. And Noah Gray is sitting at plus 4,500. So that's
Dustin asking where's Khalil Shakir at? He's at plus 2,400.
That's
According to
not a bad
FanDuel
one.
Sportsbook.
Yeah, no, that's too. But again, you can't go with that over Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdown
at plus 3,000. I'm making my final answer Noah Gray plus 4,500. I like that. That's enough juice behind it that I'm willing to take that shot. Cooper, you going with Patrick Mahomes plus 3,000?
Yeah, I think that's the deepest I'd go, man. Unless you're going to play the defenses, but that is lame.
What we should do when we do this is we should like kind of keep score, and you get points based on like how, like based on the odds, right? Like if it's plus 3,000, Coop, maybe you get 3,000 points whenever it hits. But if it's plus 4,100, and we set like a minimum threshold that you have to pick, that way someone's not just picking those like plus 750
you have to pick something
every single week.
I think anything over plus 2,000 is legit, right?
Yeah, I'm down for it. So I'm going with Noah Gray. You going with Patrick Mahomes?
Well, if I can take anybody that's plus 2,000, I will go with my boy Quentin Morris.
Quentin Morris for Coop. JL, what about you? Where are you going on this? Plus 2,000 or more?
I will go with let's go with Buffalo defense. What the hell?
Buffalo defense. What are they at? What are they sitting at? They're sitting at plus 46. Oh, you just had to show me up by 100. Plus 4,600.
If you're going to pick a defense, why not go big with the Chiefs defense? Get that extra kick.
I think it's more likely
about it that way. JL says, yeah, that's a pretty good analysis. I wasn't thinking about it that way. Tommy said, Noah way. Noah way is Noah Gray.
I like that, Tommy.
Get in line behind Craig, Tommy.
Yeah, you guys.
Who do you guys think wins this game? Who's coming out on top in this one?
You get Jordan Loop in here with those three, and the puns would just be off the rails.
Just absurd.
Who do I think is what?
Who do you think is going to win this game? Who's the winner of this Bills-Chiefs game? What's the score?
I don't know. That's radio, folks.
That's a strong answer.
That's radio.
I think the Bills.
Bills.
I think the Bills win. Yeah, I think the Bills are a better team. I think they win. I think they win 31-28.
That was very close to where I was going on that one, Coop. I think the Bills win as well. I think they cover. I think they're going to cover that 2.5-point spread, and I'll go with 34-27 is going to be my final score.
You little minx, because you took one of mine. I'm going to go 34-31 Bills.
Nerd. So we all picked the Bills to cover. Every single one of us picked the Bills to cover that 2.5-point spread right there.
And did most of us take the over?
Yeah, we all did.
What's 34 plus 27? I don't know how to do math. 61. That is definitely over. Wow. I probably should have been able to just see that by looking at those numbers, right? That was a pretty easy head math, and I just fumbled it.
Head math.
Head math. Should have been some head
Adam
math.
saying Bills 38, Chiefs 35, even the more over. The over.
That's like bowling score math. I mean, we've seen a game this year go to 48-45. So at this point, no scores are crazy.
Yeah, and also 12-7 was a really exciting score line. That was, I mean, you know what? But I guess the 12-7 game was better than the 12-9 game we got last week. Like at least there were
the under.
There were some touchdowns. There was a chance to win the game on the last play. Like there was some excitement in this game, but in the 12-9 game, it was just pain.
There was some excitement towards the end
of the 12-9
when it was like
game?
9-9. Yeah.
Yeah, when it was 9-9. No, that was the least exciting tie at the end of regulation that has ever existed. Just there's never been a less interesting.
Hey, it got
tie.
ask Keith. Keith was sweating it out. It got a little crazy there.
You're right. If you had the
no touchdowns,
touchdowns prop,
but just in general, I find games that are close in score interesting, regardless of what that score is. If it's still a close match, I still think it's a pretty good game to watch.
I generally agree with you, but that game tested me last week, tested my limits of that theory because I was not having fun watching that for the most part.
Yeah, that's the new name of that bet though. Like if you're betting the no touchdown bet, it's called the
wet blanket.
Keith Sweat.
The Keith Sweat.
Gross. That's disgusting.
The Keith Sweat.
The Keith Sweat. Yeah, wasn't Keith Sweat was like a singer, right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
And Kevin said the last 2 weeks of football on Thursday have set football back 65 years. I'm holding Jeff Bezos personally responsible. Like honestly, he should probably give me like 3 free months of Amazon Prime for each of those games. I think, just as like a favor. Though the most absurd thing is if you guys turn on that Prime Vision broadcast, it's beautiful with like the numbers that they're putting up there. It's great, right? Like the stuff they're putting on the screen, but then the games behind it, it's like creating the most like delicious homemade buttercream frosting and then like smearing it on a dog turd. Like you've got the beautiful frosting, but then the thing underneath is just like this juicy, gross piece of dog poop with like the most
don't say
delicious buttercream
juicy.
frosting on top.
Why do you say juicy?
Don't say that, dude.
Because there was some juice to that game last night. It came down to the last minute, but like Prime Vision,
That's true.
beautiful. And then the game, not so great. Let's move on and talk about the next game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 8.5-point favorites on the road. And I expect them to look like 8.5-point favorites on the road. We saw the Steelers not be able to do much against that Bills defense. Kenny Pickett in his second start going against another very tough matchup in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Goop, how do you see this game playing out? Is it going to be another Steelers blowout where they're on the losing end of it?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the case. It's kind of 8.5, dude. That's calling for a whooping. And the Steelers, I think they know where they're at. I think they know they're not winning a whole lot, and that might be why they're not running Naji into the ground the way they were last year. Last year, I think they were trying to compete. This year, I think they know what team they are. They're trying to develop players. There's really no reason to this year. So why not get Jaylen Warren in there? Not good for fantasy football, and could be pretty spooky moving forward. I don't know. Do you think that they can cover 8.5 at least? Then?
I don't know, man. Whenever we saw the 14-point line against the Bills, I was like, that feels like the smart play, right? To be able, they should be able to cover. I know the Bills defense is not the Buccaneers defense. It's a different game, different team. But I don't know, man. I don't know if they can get in the end zone. I think I would take the Buccaneers to cover this 8.5-point spread if I had to pick a side of it. What about you, JL? Do you think the Steelers can cover this 8.5-point spread? Oh, and he's miming for us again.
8.5 is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for the Pittsburgh Steelers to cover. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I would take the Bucs.
Take the Bucs. Coop, you agreeing with us, or are you taking them on the 8.5 points?
Yeah, no, I would take the Bucs to cover this.
We got all Bucs on that one. Yeah, this is going to be a gross game. Do you think we talked about Naji Harris a little bit, JL, with Jaylen Warren picking up some more of this work, the struggles Naji Harris has had, and this offensive line being as bad as it has been so far? How are you viewing Naji Harris rest of season? Because he was drafted as a RB1, as a top guy, as high as the 5th running back off the board in some leagues. Now, I don't think that's the case, but how far exactly has he fallen for you?
Yeah, in PPR, Naji Harris currently the running back 30 on the season. It has not been fantastic for him. It hasn't been fantastic for him. It's been a pretty tough schedule to start the season. Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, Jets, Buffalo, and now he's got Tampa Bay, which is also going to be tough. Gets a little bit easier for him a little bit later in the season, but not substantially. So yeah, I think we need to adjust our expectations here. Naji Harris, he's getting a decent amount of opportunity, but that offensive line is just so bad. Yeah. So bad.
I always wonder what level of communication there is. And obviously it's going to be different between every team, but some of these teams clearly are setting up to lose. For instance, you look at the Lions last year where they let a bunch of guys leave to get comp picks. They let all their they specifically let their guys leave and then didn't sign anybody to multi-year guaranteed deals to collect those comp picks for Kenny Golladay, for Marvin Jones, for Jamal Agnew. They got one for. They got one for the kicker, Matt Prater. They specifically only signed one player to a multi-year deal, which was Jamal Williams, because they had 5 guys leave and 4 is the max. So the players know what's going on. I wonder how much level of discussion there is between the top players that are going to be there and the coaching staff. Naji Harris all offseason was saying, I'm going to be getting less carries and, they want me to touch the ball less. You wonder how much level of conversation there is where the coach says, hey, here's the deal. We want you to have a long career. We know that we're kind of in a rebuild here. How do you feel about us kind of taking it easy on your workload? I wonder if those conversations happen, or if that's detrimental to a player to even mention that, But with a guy like Naji Harris, they have a vested interest, in keeping that guy healthy. He was a 1st-round pick, so they're going to have him for 5 years total. So assuming they pick up his 5th-year option. So I don't know, man. It's kind of a weird area to live in, right? What do you guys think? Do you think those conversations ever happen, or do you think the coach is always just we're always playing to win?
I feel
I think they happen.
I feel in general, if the goal is to lose games, that's not the coaches or the players' job. That's the GM's job to make sure that roster's set up to be a losing roster, right? Like what you want as a GM, if you're set up to lose games, is a coach that's going to work on starting to like establish that culture, trying to get the most out of his players on his team while they're still losing, like doing their best to win a couple games. But you've got such a bad roster that they're losing. So I feel like the more common scenario is like the coaches are still out there trying to win every game, but some teams are better at that rebuild than others, right? Some teams are better at setting their team up for that rebuild. But I'm sure the situation you said does happen, like where maybe it wasn't their intention, their plan wasn't to do it, but now all of a sudden the season is thrown off the rails, and the GM has to talk with the coach about what their goals are.
Like these guys aren't stupid, right?
Yeah.
No, they're not stupid.
Urban Meyer.
Tavon Austin, but I mean the players know. Like the players on the Lions last year were probably aware that the new GM came in and was trying to do a rebuild.
Absolutely.
They have to.
No, they have to. Guys, coming up, we've got some questions in here as well. Kate said, do I start Russ if the next best option would be Mac Jones or Jimmy G? So would you start Russell Wilson over Mac Jones and Jimmy Garoppolo? Coop?
Absolutely. You have to. You can't bench Russell Wilson for Mac Jones. And I'm a Patriots fan. I mean, he already had zero mobility and now he has a high ankle sprain. Like there's no upside in starting Mac Jones. I still have Russell Wilson ranked somewhere like 15, 16. You know, it's not like he's terrible. It's not like he's.
I'm okay starting Jimmy G over Russ this weekend, just because he has Atlanta. He's got the Atlanta Falcons, which is a really easy matchup. These guys are close enough for me, but I'm fine if you want to start Russ over Jimmy G or back to back.
Guys, coming up, we'll hit the rest of these questions right after this break with the help from our friend Vinny Iyer, who's going to be joining the show with us. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Rick Kamla.
He went to Denver to swindle a desperate franchise out of $250 million. That's what Russell Wilson did. He went to Denver in the great state of Colorado and bamboozled them all, including me. And now he is just bilking $250 million from these people. These poor people, they don't deserve this. Totally on board with the decision to bring on Russell Wilson. Totally on board. I don't regret it to this day. Absolutely the right move. Bold, aggressive move, make a big trade, pay him all the money, bring him in. Now you're in the Super Bowl fast lane. Let's go giddy up Peyton Manning style. Russ is the one who has not held up his end of the bargain. This is on him, and I am looking at him completely differently right now.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't going to bring anything up.
Grounded slowly to third. Manny charges his. Now plays the hop. Throw to first is in time. And the Padres have not only captured the moment, they have captured the wild card series.
Really sucks when it comes to our New York Mets. They lost. Joe Musgrove's ears were pretty shiny, but whatever. They found nothing growing, and just like that, 101 wins out the window.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing performance to end the season. They played their worst baseball over the last month. They didn't do much at the trade deadline, which came back to hurt them all year. I said it was imperative that they win the division because of what happened. You put yourself in a 3-game series now where, you run into a team with good starting pitching like the Padres with Yu Darvish and Musgrove dominating, and this is what happened. So definitely a disappointing season, at least the end to the season, and they didn't come through when they needed to. They needed one win in Atlanta in the 3-game series. They didn't get it, and they showed up Saturday and did not show up at all last night. Just one hit, just really bad, man. So I want my refund for the divisional round because I did get tickets. And then they tell you, you're not going to get your refund until 3 to 4 weeks after the conclusion of the postseason. Really? 2 months? Come on, give me my money now. You're not playing it. Give me my money back.
Maybe they have net 60 or something.
No, man, just give me my money. You're not playing. I want my money back.
Yeah, don't worry.
Shouldn't have to wait.
You'll win it back with your fantasy basketball league anyway, Ronis. We know how it goes, okay? We know how it goes.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Joining us right now is our great friend, Vinny Iyer. For those of you that do not know Vinny is an NFL and fantasy football writer over at Sporting News and a host at Locked On Fantasy Football. Vinny, thanks so much for joining the show today with us, my man.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. So I heard you guys were talking about sports movies.
Oh, yeah. You got a favorite sports movie, Vinny?
It's hard because I've got a lot of them that I like, but I still like Bull Durham. It's one of my favorites.
Bill Durham.
Yeah,
Bull Durham.
it's fun. It has a little bit of everything in it, so can't.
That
go
might
wrong
be
with it.
that might be the most critically acclaimed one of them, right?
Might
Like
be.
that one's up. Field of Dreams obviously up there too, but yeah, that's a good movie.
You're going to make Joey happy with that one. Our friend Joey Wright with FYF.
Dude, Joey messaged me immediately. And I was just sitting here thinking while we were talking movies, how Joey's going to just give me grief that he wasn't here listening for the movie talk. And I immediately get a text message, please, please, please bring me on for the sports movie bracket.
Yes.
I also,
anyone can call in. Like if you have a movie that you like, we keep saying this, we'll put you on, dude.
Joe, what time did you get that text message? Okay, at 8:16 Eastern time, I got a message that said, please, please, please bring me on for the sports movie bracket. I will clear my morning, is what he said. Okay. I got a second text after that. He said, I will clear my morning. And Joey said, Bull Durham is the pinnacle. Joey, don't worry. We are not doing the bracket today, but we will make sure we get you up there for it. And Vinny, Joey endorsing your pick right there of Bill Durham.
That's good.
Hey, no shock to everybody here. I've never seen Bull Durham. I have not seen that movie. I got to watch it.
Vinny, give us one more.
I do like, I can give you a movie in each sport. I do like Hoosiers quite a bit. I actually kind of like an old school movie called Breaking Away. It's about bicycling. I know it sounds weird, but it's got a lot of good storylines. I think it happens in Indiana, and all these guys start trying to race like European cyclists. It's kind of funny. It's good.
Dennis Quaid. Quaid in that movie.
Dude, Safety might be one of my favorite sports movies.
My favorite bicycling movie is E.T.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
What about Eddie's $1 million
in the basket there?
Dude, Eddie's $1 million cook-off is underrated. All right,
that's what I was bringing up. What about Eddie's I just said it as a real movie, JL.
Nobody make fun of it.
I didn't know we could better Disney Channel original movies. Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
I love that one.
Here's what I will say: Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. I truly believe it started a trend because I feel like up until that time period, the general plot was the good guys win. Know what I mean? Like they win, and the lesson is like if you keep persevering, you're going to come through on top. Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it, it started the trend of like. It's okay to not win, right? Like he didn't win, but it was about the friends he made along the way and the journey. And like, even though he wasn't the winner, about the recipes, right? Like, and then after that, I feel like we started seeing that a ton more. Where like, it's not always the hero winning the sporting event.
Is he done with the spoilers yet?
Yeah, he's done.
Something tells me the bad guy wins. No.
Vinny, we could talk sports movies the rest of this time, but we did have at least one question in here from a chat member that I wanted to ask you about. Squirrel Bob, when we were talking about Naji Harris, came in and said, I'm thinking of benching Naji for Eno Benjamin. Would you play Eno Benjamin this week over Naji Harris, Vinny?
I would definitely think about it. I mean, let's just make sure that we're out on James Conner and Darrell Williams this week. It looks like it's trending in that way. But if Eno Benjamin's getting the majority of carries against the Seahawks, we saw what happened last week. Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. I mean, that's money in the bank there. Why would you try to force Naji Harris in a really bad matchup there against the Buccaneers? It doesn't make any sense. He's not playing really well, and the matchup is bad, and Eno has a beautiful matchup, and suddenly he's going to get all the touches, the significant touches. I think you'll see a little bit of their younger backs, but Keontae Ingram is now the backup if that happens. But when you look at it, Eno Benjamin is set up for a big role. They really like him, so I think he's going to get some significant carries. In fact, I'm starting a backfield this week of Ken Walker and Eno Benjamin.
Oh,
I'm proud of it.
That you should be proud of it.
Vinny, I have a very similar one. I've got Ken Walker and Brian Robinson in my Scott Fishbowl lineup this week as my two running backs. It's right there with you, but I'm with you. As weird as it is, I think the correct answer is you start Eno Benjamin over Naji Harris this week. It makes sense.
I'll tell you what, dude. If you go on like DraftKings and you make a lineup with Kenneth Walker and Eno Benjamin, you can start whoever you want at the other position. Eno Benjamin's like under $5,000. Ken Walker's like right around $5,000. Whereas the top running backs are what, 8?
I might do that.
8, 7, 6. Like those guys are. When I look at this list, Ken Walker is not even in the top like 20 or so, and Eno's even cheaper than that. And also real quick, just want to mention Jimmy Anderson mentioned a movie that was on the tip of my tongue. Brink,
Phenomenal. Such a good movie.
Phenomenal.
The roller skating movie, Disney original, Disney
Classic.
Channel original.
Yeah. Soul
That is
Skaters.
a good one.
Soul Skaters for life, dog.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
there's-
That's a great one.
Man, we could have a whole bracket of just Disney Channel original sports movies.
Yeah.
Motocrossed. that
Motocross was
movie-
fantastic.
Lucky
I'm going to say that's
Rips,
fantastic
that
to
movie-
every single Disney Channel
God.
original that you bring up.
Luck of
You'll be
the
like,
I-
oh, yeah.
Luck of the Irish.
Dude,
Oh my
Luck of the
God.
Irish is great. Is that a Disney Channel original?
It is. It is.
It is,
Where,
okay.
where a basketball
Dude,
player turns
fantastic.
into a leprechaun jail. You just asked, is that a Disney Channel sports? Like, who else made that movie?
Could have been Nickelodeon. You never know. They get wild
So
over there.
this tells me you guys are fans of the show, The Jersey, because I was like trying to explain it to my son the other day. Like, this is pretty cool. This guy had a Magic jersey, and other famous athletes would come on the show, and they would all hang out together, and it was pretty cool. Like,
Forgot about that
Yeah.
show. You are just
Oh
like
my
you
God.
just flipped a memory switch in my brain
It was
that
so
I had not
good.
thought about in years,
'cause
Vinny.
you had all these famous athletes would come on the show and
Oh,
help.
that was
man.
sick.
Yeah.
That
Wasn't-
that
wasn't
was an
there-
absolutely
Dude, I
sick
did
Wasn't there
forget
also
about
a
the show.
werewolf basketball movie?
There
probably
was a
Werewolf.
werewolf
Oh,
basketball
there's
movie.
two.
No,
There's
Teen
actually
Wolf.
two.
Teen
There's
Wolf?
Teen
Is that what
Wolf
you're thinking?
1 and Teen Wolf 2.
You really can't miss with the basic plot of teenage kid turns into something and then he's really good at basketball.
Yeah, because we had Teen Wolf 1 was, of course, Michael J. Fox. Teen Wolf 2, anybody who was in that one? You know? Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman was
Interesting.
Teen Wolf 2.
That's
No
crazy.
way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What a switch from Michael J. Fox to Jason Bateman, I feel like. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Like that, that's a pretty
At
funny
that time,
switch
those guys
over
were
there.
on fire. They were on TV. So.
If we try and sit here and play who was in that movie with a Jeopardy champ, I think we're all just going to destroy.
Sadly, I've seen Teen Wolf 2. It's not very good. but-
Sadly,
We were
I
talking
wonder-
about bad sequels yesterday. We didn't bring up Teen Wolf 2. We brought up
Baby
some,
Geniuses too.
Baby Geniuses 2. Jaws the Revenge was my submission for. It's not even a direct sequel. It's like a later sequel.
Speed 2,
Um,
also terrible.
Dude, Full Court Miracle is another one. Did you guys ever watch that one? It's another Disney Channel
Vinny,
one.
you see that one?
No, I don't watch a lot of Disney Channel. Let me get this straight. Like, I've back
You're
in the day, I
lost.
watched some of the things, but I think there was one. Was it a movie or TV show about the two? I think the twin sisters who played basketball. I don't know. It was something. I can't remember the name of it, but it was based on.
I'm remembering the Twin Twitches with Tia and Tamara. That was
Yeah.
that was a pretty good one. But
I think this
they
one
played-
was based on the twins who played somewhere. I want to say Virginia or Tennessee. And then
I'm gonna have to
they did
look that up. I'm gonna have to
Oh
look that up
man,
because I
Right
don't
on
remember.
Track is another one.
Teen Wolf
Right on
2.
Track is the racing one.
Teen Wolf 2 got an 8 on Rotten Tomatoes.
An 8.
And one of the
Oh,
the some of the reviews are almost as good as or just as good as the Baby Geniuses 2 one. This one, Barbara Schulgasser from Common Sense Media, dreadful.
Dreadful.
Just a
Also,
review.
Vinny, Keith coming in with the assist. Keith saying Double Teamed is the movie that you're talking
Double
about.
team.
Attaboy,
Yeah, I knew it
Keith.
was something punny. They're always good with the puns over Disney.
They are.
Good
We need some help from Disney on some of
Yeah.
these pun names. Maybe
Yeah.
they can help name some of our segments. Double Teamed. Absolutely phenomenal. We had another fantasy question in here, and then we'll get back to movie talk. Don't worry, I promise. Eric wanted to know PPR Flex 1, Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie, or Kareem Hunt this week. Vinny, of
Ugh.
those three players, Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie, or Kareem Hunt, which one are you starting?
I think Isaiah McKenzie's going to return here, but will Khalil Shakir continue to have a big role and split with him? That is my concern with him. I think I might be going Alec Pierce in this one. I don't like the Browns a lot of anything against the Patriots. That defense is starting to be legit here. So I think Nick Chubb is fine, but Kareem Hunt extending. I kind of like Alec Pierce against that Jaguar secondary. No?
Yeah, Kyle Duggar was kind of the missing piece there for the Patriots defense. They they've let up a bunch of touchdowns at tight ends. 3 out of 4 of them came when Kyle Duggar was off the field. So, I think now that he's back, the defense is kind of a cohesive unit here. Alec Pierce, I would just I think at some point he's going to turn the corner and it's going to flip between him and Paris Campbell, right? Paris Campbell is going to be the third guy that comes in. Alec Pierce is going to be the every down guy. But even now, Alec Pierce is playing enough for me to put him in there. So I think, your brain wants to go conservative with Kareem Hunt, but I go upside with Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's Alec Pierce for me as well. I've liked what I've been seeing, and that target volume is difficult to ignore, right? And Vinny, you mentioned the matchup. This is the time to play him. This is a week where you can plug Alec Pierce in fairly confidently. Jail, are you agreeing? Are we going to get a quadruple Alec Pierce, or are you taking a different route here?
Nope, I'm taking a different route. I'm going Kareem Hunt in this matchup.
JL, boo.
Whoopsie
Chat,
doopsie.
boo JL. Smash
Hit
that
the fun button to boo
Hit
JL.
the fun button.
Yeah.
Smash that fun button. No, I do like Alec Pierce in that matchup, though. Tommy down here saying, I rented Double Teamed. I thought it was a different genre. Yeah, no, it's a basketball movie, Tommy. That is a basketball movie. I think you're at the wrong
What
Blockbuster.
genre did you think it was?
It was just Blockbuster, Tommy.
Once you see Disney on there, you know what you're getting. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Vinny, I was checking out some of your work over there on Sporting News, and I saw that you just released a new NFL mock draft for the 2023 season. Put that out there. And I was looking at some of the quarterback landing spots, right? Because in fantasy, I know like it's not fair to the defensive players over there, but whenever I look through the mock drafts, the first thing I'm looking for is where are those quarterbacks going?
Yeah.
Where are those quarterbacks going? Where are those quarterbacks going? And you had a fairly heavy quarterback first round. You think quite a few of these guys are going to go in the first round next year.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud, he hasn't done anything to really drop off from the number 1 spot. I think Bryce Young, don't be worried about the injury. I think those guys are still going to go 1, 2. Now, 3 is kind of in flux. Will Levis has had an injury there for Kentucky. Tyler Van Dyke has not played very well. Anthony Richardson has struggled as well. So it's kind of wide open who's going to be the third. But right now, I still think it's Levis, depending on the teams that are picking here. I looked at the Panthers definitely need a quarterback. We know that. So right now they would be picking number 1 overall, and they'd have to take CJ Stroud, I think. And then I thought maybe at some point the Giants would need a quarterback, but they're too good now. So they're not going to be in position to get Bryce Young. So you have a lot of options there for Bryce Young. Would the Raiders do it and move on from Derek Carr? I don't know. I think there's a few teams that would consider it, but I think you look at the Texans, they definitely have to go after a quarterback, and I think the Lions do too at this point, because Jared Goff has been okay, but you have to turn the corner here if you're going to rebuild, and you got to do it with a franchise quarterback.
You got one pick on here that I think that would very deeply upset the fantasy football community. Do you know which one I'm thinking of here?
I'm trying to think what would be the one. Did I have Taysom Hill redrafted by another team?
Redrafted by every team. Every team.
My God. You just got my blood boiling ever so slightly whenever you said that.
You have a very popular wide receiver going to a team that not only does not utilize wide receivers well, but they pretty much can curse anyone that they draft early in the New England Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
That pick makes a lot of sense. But if that were to happen, the dynasty community would throw their papers in the air. He has Jackson Smith and Jigba going to the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a hard one because I'm not even sure that Mac Jones is going to be the quarterback going into 2023 at this rate. Yeah, I don't know what the Patriots are thinking. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Patriots running backs or wide receivers typically not great, but this year I got to say there's some clarity here. Ramondre Stevenson is the number 1 with Damian Harris out. Jacoby Myers legitimately impressed me last week. This guy couldn't score touchdowns. He wasn't like a high upside play, but all of a sudden he looks pretty good. I think they've kind of wrote him off as just, okay, he's a slot guy. He's the best of what we got, but they try to get Devontae Parker and Nelson Aguilar, and then Tyquan Thornton got hurt. So it's set up nicely. And Jacoby Myers had a really nice game last week. He's flying under the radar as a real, I think, viable, maybe wide receiver 2 here the rest of the year.
Absolutely, man. He runs those like I said it yesterday about this player is that, we say all this stuff about the spreadsheets and stuff, but then when you watch the game, it always boils down to the same thing, getting first downs. And this guy can just flat out get open. I don't know what it is. He's not fast, right? He's not big, but he just can create separations with those timing routes and gets open. And that's why he gets peppered with targets here. So like you said, he's not going to burn anybody. He's not going to score a ton of touchdowns, but he's about as safe as it gets, right?
I have a hot take here, but I think I'd rather have Bailey Zappi in there. I think this kid at least is aggressive. Like, I know where he came from. I mean, you look at the film from Western Kentucky, this kid likes to throw the ball. And Mac Jones is kind of a caretaker. I mean, I'm a little surprised because Mac Jones maybe lifted by having elite receivers and elite offensive line at Alabama, maybe a bit inflated with his value in that 1 year. Because I don't see, even though Mac Jones had that big year, I don't see anything that tells me that it was Joe Burrow in that LSU offense, right? They look completely different with Mac Jones. So I'm not so sure that Bill Belichick's committed here to Mac Jones completely. And it's not just him just shrugging this off. I think this could be legit here. Zappi plays well and they beat the Browns. I mean, it's hard to make that change because Mac Jones was turning the ball over pretty regularly early in the season. So it'll be interesting to watch here.
He didn't do last year, right? Like he had the second highest completion percentage of a rookie all time. But I think you're right. Like if Mac Jones comes back and gets a chance again, no more conservative Mac Jones. He's got to start firing around because Bailey Zappi, 29-0. Look out, dude. Next, this guy behind me here.
I did not have
Tom Brady, dude. Mac Jones
Bailey
about to get
Zappi
2 butts
replacing Mac Jones as the New England Patriots starting quarterback on my bingo card for this NFL season. That wasn't something I was projecting even as like a possibility. But yeah, that's wild. I think it's hot, Vinny, but not like not like scalding hot, right? Like it's
the Patriots. No, you can't put it past them. So
no, it makes sense right there. We had some fantasy questions here come in the chat. Cade Cobbler wanted to know, should I start Deontay Johnson or Romeo Dobbs in full PPR? Vinny, are you going Deontay Johnson or Romeo Dobbs this week?
I think the safer play is Deontay Johnson. I mean, I think Romeo Dobbs has been good here of late, but you're seeing it. Some of the rookie inexperience there where Deontay Johnson just a pro here. He got the increased targets last week there. So you think there's going to be some garbage time. And this secondary a little bit banged up for the Buccaneers. So I think Deontay Johnson, George Pickens can put up some garbage numbers this week.
I'm in agreement. Deontay Johnson, just at a certain point, got to go with the better player. Like we know Deontay Johnson's a good player. Got to go with that guy. And I mean, like the targets are there.
I'm with him.
12, 10, 11, 13.
That's his thing. That's what Deontay Johnson does,
Yeah.
If he didn't have that one rough game, then we'd be pretty committed to him.
It's Deontay Johnson. It's Deontay Johnson. Even with the tough matchup, you got to go Deontay Johnson. Eric in here. What's up, Eric? Eric wanted to know Juju or Romeo Dobbs. Another Romeo Dobbs question. So Juju Smith-Schuster or Romeo Dobbs. Vinny, is this one Dobbs for you, or are you still starting Juju over him?
I don't know why we're starting Juju at this point. I don't know what he's doing.
Sad.
Last week, I mean, I looked at Marcus Valdes-Scantling and Mecole Hardman and a little bit of Sky Moore late. There was a lot of Travis Kelce, Juju with the drops, and he's had basically, I think, 1 or 2 big plays this season, but what else has he done? Nothing.
Nada.
And so I think I go with Dobbs just because there's a chance that he can score a touchdown there a lot better than the other way around. So I just don't see Juju being a big factor going forward. And I think they're going to start phasing him out a little bit, I think they're disappointed.
I'm done calling for the Juju big game. I feel like a couple times I've been like, this is the one. This is the one. No, this is the one for sure.
With.
Yep. I'm taking the L, and it's Romeo Dobbs for me as well. I like the upside there, and they're just spreading the ball around too much. And Juju doesn't seem to be the one who's getting the most spread. Like they're not spreading it to him the most. So I can't start Juju.
He's like on the edge of the bread.
He's near the crust. He's not the crust, but he's near the crust. He's that part, like the little buffer where so your peanut butter doesn't get onto the table.
Yeah, he's that part of crust that like didn't get any butter on it too, so it's like the worst bite.
But, your peanut butter sandwich.
But he did. The thing is, I feel bad for Juju because he signed like a complete prove it deal, right? He only signed for $3 million.
And he has not proved it.
DJ Chark got $10 million guaranteed. 1 year's $10 million guaranteed. And Juju took 1 year, $3 million to prove it. And he, like Jail said, hasn't proved it. So, ouchies
for sure. Yeah, he should have just signed for $20 million, and then he'd be playing like Christian Kirk, right? That's all you have to do is sign a $20 million contract, and then all of a sudden you play better.
Or you could just sign an $80 million contract and just chill out like Kenny Galladay.
That's the life. That's the life.
I think it's
Yeah.
pretty much gone downhill since that NFL 100 commercial. I think he was hanging out with Ninja, and that was it. It was finished.
That was his peak.
He hasn't been good since.
I mean, Juju has not been good in a regular matchup. I'm not playing him against Buffalo.
That's fair. That makes sense. It's tempting though, right? Because whenever you see that 53.5 point over under, you're like, oh boy,
Where's
the
it gonna
points are about
go?
to be scored in this game. Like, but I think it's a trap. I think
The
it's a
answer is
trap
Jody
to plug
Fortson.
Juju. The answer is Jody Fortson. His name was Jody Fortson. We had another question in here. I'm 2-3, half PPR with Jonathan Taylor, Mixon, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, and Dak on the bench. Wants to know if he should be looking to trade any of these players. So also has AJ Dillon, Christian Kirk, and Pickens. So is there a trade sitting somewhere in this roster so they stay pat? Running backs are pretty solid with JT and Mixon, and then Dillon on the bench. Like, you're pretty good to go. Wide receivers, looking at Jamar, Deebo, CD. Bro,
Just gotta wait. Just
wait
wait it out.
That's a pretty loaded roster. I'd like to have that roster.
Yeah,
that team's probably going to win the league. How'd you even get that roster?
I don't know.
Did you have like 3 first-round picks? That has to be a keeper league because he has
trades.
Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb. Those are all first-round picks, right?
And Joe Mixon as well.
And
Mixed
Joe
in
Mixon.
there.
Yeah, that team's a wagon, bro. Just hang tight.
Yeah, you know what you got. You're 2-3. It's regression's gonna come. You're gonna bounce back here.
Positive regression. Regression would be positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Squirrel Bob and Hussein, have any of the Kansas City wide receivers proved anything though? Other than Kelsey, the rest of the passing game is just a question mark. Is that how you're viewing it, Vinny? You mentioned MVS a little bit before, but are you willing to plug in any of these other Kansas City pass catchers?
Well, I think I would stash Sky Moore. I think maybe in the second half of the season, but playing them, it's just hard. I mean, we should listen to Patrick Mahomes. He said everyone's going to catch passes here. I'm not going to have one go-to guy except for Travis Kelce. Well, he was right. He's just throwing them around, and that's what he's going to do. He's just going to find his favorite target this season is open man. Open man is the guy that he's going to throw to consistently. And Travis Kelce tends to be that man pretty often, but I think they'll unlock Sky Moore at some point. And they're trying to get him a little bit more involved. If you notice, they put him in the second half of games, right? He kind of gets his reps there late. So I think they're still trying to get to the point of trusting him as a rookie. And then once they do that, I think you'll see him more in the second half.
I think Squirrel Bob, the question was, have any of the KC wide receivers proved anything? Yeah, I think they've proved. I mean, Mecole Hardman proved that he stinks.
Yeah.
I was going to literally say the same thing about Juju. Juju's proved that you can't start him in fantasy football.
Mecole Hardman, if you're looking for one catch for 4 yards, Mecole Hardman, get him in there.
He's your guy.
Lock him in.
And a couple passes, you're like, oh, if you would have just caught that one, it would have been a great fantasy week. That's the Mecole Hardman special. I feel like you get a couple of those every game as well. Tommy's saying I could see them using Pacheco more. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to get both their rookies a little bit more involved, right? Like Sky Moore and Isaiah Pacheco. Do you think there's a potential for like a second half surge for Pacheco in this offense as a back for the Chiefs?
I mean, there's something to look at there, but I think they have very specific roles, right? I mean, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in there as the red zone guy. They have Jerick McKinnon getting some key touches, and then you got Isaiah Pacheco. I think we're so desperate to get something out of the Chiefs. Like this offense is amazing, but the only guys we can start here are Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce with full confidence. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire you can start, but if you don't get the touchdown like you didn't get last week, it's not going to be a good result for you. So I think people are just frustrated and desperate, looking for something. Chiefs, give us something. They're used to them having so many good fantasy assets, and they only have 2 that you can play in week in and week out with confidence.
Kelce and Mahomes. Yeah, and still we're looking at this as one of the best offenses in the league, right? Like we still fear the Chiefs offense whenever it's going up against the defense, yet it's Kelce and Mahomes, Kelce and Mahomes, Kelce and Mahomes.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you just have to look at an offense, and this is the thing we try to balance out in fantasy. Do you want a lesser offense that throws to fewer people, even though there's not going to be as many points and yards to go around? Or do you want an explosive offense with a lot of different guys? There's going to be a bigger pool of yards and points, but the big pool of players is different. So that's why you kind of look at target share, opportunity share, all those type of things there, and track those a lot because it's easier. I mean, the Vikings are a team that we know what's going to happen, right? It's Justin Jefferson, a lot of him, a little bit of Adam Thielen. maybe an Irv Smith or KJ Osborne does something in a week, but it's 3 guys that basically touch the ball consistently: Jefferson, Thielen, and Cook, and then everyone else is kind of there. But the Chiefs, when you have a lot of mouths to feed, it's tough for fantasy, even if you've got an explosive offense.
Absolutely. JL loves Irv Smith, so he's so happy to hear you say that name out loud. It's his favorite player.
Irvy.
Irvy, JL's number 1 favorite player.
Irv falls into a big group of tight ends that just like would be interesting if they played more than like 50 or 60% of the snaps, right? Like Robert Tunyon's in that group too. Like these guys just don't play. They don't play the full game. So you can't trust those fellas.
Yeah. Kate had one more question for us. Asked, I'm in a 12-man league, 3-2, and he has McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. Want to know if he should try to trade one to help with his other positions. Has Russell Wilson at quarterback, Sutton, Deontay, and Godwin at wide receiver, and Ertz at tight end. Man, you're gonna have to get a haul to trade away one of those 2 guys. I'm probably, if I'm you, just rolling with the best running back duo in your league. Like that's an advantage every single week that you have over your league mates is having Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. I'm not making a move. What about you, Vinny?
No, that's hard to even fathom to have that the backfield. And I would be hating on these players if it was the preseason, but they've stayed healthy so far. So I think you just have to watch that, is that maybe create some depth there just in case, because the wheels could come off with either one of these guys at any given moment, given their injury history. We saw it with Rashad Penny, right? Rashad Penny looking good, injury history looming, then there it comes, and then it's done. So the history is, if these guys get hurt, they're going to get hurt again. And it's not like these guys have had fluky injuries. There's been consistent attrition with both these guys. So that's my concern here going forward. But while they're healthy, you got to ride them as much as you can.
Yeah. McCaffrey now leading the league in routes run by a running back, overtaking the great and powerful Devin Singletary. And that's
of course. That's unbelievable that he managed to take over Devin Singletary. I'm honestly shocked.
Right. I wouldn't trade them. If you are going to trade one, I would trade Saquon Barkley just because we just saw him exit the game briefly with a shoulder injury. It's already kind of right there. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these injuries, are partial tears, like a sprain, partial tear, right? It's like anytime that starts happening, you have to worry about, one more hit to that shoulder, and then now all of a sudden it's a serious injury. So if I'm going to trade either of those guys, it would be Barkley. I mean, would you guys go the other way?
No, I'm with you.
I think what's more important for me in this question is, what does your depth look like? What does your bench look like? Because I see, just based off your starters, like, yeah, you could use some more strength at the wide receiver position. Godwin coming back should be a boon for you. That's great. You could upgrade Ertz. So I could see balancing out this team a bit by trading one of these guys, but it's really like the way you do that is going to be dependent on where you have depth. If you're trading away McCaffrey and Barkley, who is behind them, right? Who's filling in that spot?
Yeah, like you got someone serviceable sitting there. You got Tony Pollard, or are you sitting there staring at Zamir White as your next running back up? That's gonna
right.
change things drastically. I'm with you, JL. Vinny, before we let you go, we had one more question from Tommy in here for you. He wants to know, who is your team upset or breakout player of the week? Do you have an upset looming, or a player that you think is going to smash this week?
Well, that's an interesting question. Let me dig deep here. Well, I think the upset, I hate to say it, and I'm going to go with pretty low-hanging fruit here, but I'd like the Chiefs to upset the Bills this week.
It's not low-hanging fruit. All three of us picked the Bills whenever we talked about that.
I'm booing that one.
All right, so I'm bringing that up. I'm just shocked that Patrick Mahomes is a home underdog. I think it's the first time in his career as a starter. So I think that's pretty bold that the Bills are out there. And the Bills right now, overall, I would say are the better team. But the Chiefs at home, a little bit different story here. So I do like that. In terms of breakout players, like I did actually kind of like Darnell Mooney on Thursday night. I thought he was going to do a little bit more and almost had that touchdown to make it a great night. It would have been a great night if he had gotten in the end zone. Now, breakout players, I mean, I still look at the rookies. We'll go with the easy one there. I think you look at Ken Walker, Benjamin in that game as backs that can explode and maybe be league winners down the stretch for you. So I do like that. And one guy who's been a slacker who deserves to break out, I think, is George Kittle. I mean, I love George Kittle. He's a great player. Good reality player, great blocker. It's time for him to start catching passes.
Is Trent Williams back this week? I know he was questionable, limited.
I think he's going to be out one more week here. But I think George Kittle, this is the week, I think. They started to feed him a little bit. It was his birthday last Sunday. I couldn't believe that he didn't score, but George Kittle's been a slacker at tight end. He's one of those guys we keep trotting out there, like, oh, tight end is bad. We're going to keep playing this guy, but I think he's going to pay dividends this week. He's overdue for a big game. The Falcons just cannot cover the tight end. So
I'm right with you, man. I wrote in my DFS article. There's over the last 5 years, George Kittle, 12 catches of over 40 yards, and he has multiple of 70 yards. That's how he kills you. Kelsey has 10. Nobody else has 5. The next highest guys are Everett and Ingram tied for 5. And those guys have been in the league all 5 of those years. So it's not like they haven't been around. That's how he does it. And when it happens, everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah. Now I remember.
That's
yeah.
That's the one to remember.
They're going to be like,
I do like Kyle Shanahan when they're playing indoors quite a bit. Like, I like that offense when they're not on grass quite a bit. Because, again, they're speed-based offense. Jeff Wilson Jr. is a burner. Debo's a burner. So you get these guys on this track where there's no element of weather and all that. That's when they're really dangerous. Remember them going to New Orleans and putting up some big numbers in the past. That's what they like to do, I think. So I do like the 49ers. When they're on the road, indoors, they usually put up big numbers.
Absolutely. Vinny, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us again this Friday. Everybody listening, if you are not already following our friend Vinny, go and follow him on Twitter right now at Vinny Iyer and check out his work with Sporting News, all the articles that he's been pushing out. Vinny, always a pleasure, my man.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week.
Appreciate it.
See you next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Cheers,
Enjoy
boss.
week 6. And I'm cheering for Kenneth Walker and Eno Benjamin this week, just so Vinny's team blows up with those 2 guys as the starting running backs. And not because I'm starting a lot of Kenneth Walker this week.
I just made a lineup with Kenneth Walker and Eno Benjamin. Started stacking JL's boy, Kirk Cousins, with Thielen and Jefferson, right? And
I freaking love Kirk Cousins.
with those guys in there, you can still get in. You can start with Kirk Cousins. I was able to start Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson in a lineup.
That's hot.
Beautiful.
Mixed in a little Evan Ingram, Alec Pierce to round it out. Patriots versus the Browns.
That's
Gotta be rich. Gotta be rich, boys.
Guys, coming up, we have Aaron Ladd joining the show, sports anchor on News Kansas City's KSHB 41 News, to talk a little bit of Chiefs. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about these Sunday games as well. Stay tuned here on the Better Sports Network. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show.
Corey, Nando, and friends. Presented by Mayo Media on Better Sports Network.
Offense is down this year, Nando.
Yeah, it is.
Offense is down this year. Definitely. Offense has been problematic this year. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that struggle offensively. Let me look it up right now. Geno Smith right now is QB6 on the season.
I can buy that.
I can buy that too. What's in the top 12 right now, Nando?
Yeah.
This is going to blow your mind. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, you know. QB4, Kyler Murray. QB5, Joe Burrow. Even with that being the top 5, okay, cool. I get it. Now here's where things get weird. QB6, Geno Smith. QB7, Carson Wentz. QB8, Jared Goff. Geno Smith, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff on QB 6, 7, and 8. That's crazy. Those are undrafted dudes. Wentz throwing for a lot of yards. The Commanders can move the football, Nando.
Yeah.
The problem is they shoot themselves in the foot with penalties.
Right.
And that turnover is coming at some point. That Wentz interception, that Wentz fumble, you're going to get it at some point. Yesterday, they got it at the worst possible time. They're driving down, try to win the game. Bam, there goes the turnover. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But outside of that, his yardage he might have threw for 375 yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
QB9, Herbert. QB10, Mahomes and Herbert, 2 of the first quarterbacks going off the board this year in drafts are QB9 and 10. QB11, Kirk Cousins. QB12, Tom Brady. 13 is Daniel Jones.
He's running.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is athletic. He is athletic. That was one thing that Jones does have with his game.
He's running through injury.
Yeah. But he's trying to hold on to his job.
Give him credit, man. Good for him.
This offense has not been great, bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Offense has not been great this season. QB 32, Mac Jones. He's a starter. Winston has missed time. Dak Prescott has missed time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that could be no Trey Lance, right? Justin Fields is a starter. You didn't expect much from him. Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, he stinks. That's a starter. Matthew Stafford, a starter who stinks. Matt Ryan, a starter who stinks. Ryan Tannehill, a starter who stinks. Aaron Rodgers is QB 18. The reason why offense stinks is because quarterback play has declined.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We just had our friend Vinny Iyer from Sporting News on. Go and give him a follow. The link is in our YouTube chat as well, and he's on Twitter at Vinny Iyer. So make sure you're following our friend Vinny. We had a couple questions come in that I wanted to make sure we were answering, guys. The first one from Brendan wants to know, how do y'all feel about ETN this week? How do y'all feel about ETN this week? JL, how do y'all feel about ETN this week?
Feel pretty good about ETN this week. I think he's in that RB3 category. The matchup is pretty neutral going against the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. Total is set at 42, and the Colts are favored to win by 2 points, meaning Vegas is semi-neutral, maybe slightly on the Jacksonville side. If all things were neutral, if this wasn't a home field situation. So I think ETN's fine. I think he's RB3 this week with RB2 upside.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. It's
Totally agree. I got him in that same group with like Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, the guys that are splitting, but they look good and they're guaranteed to get some touches,
Yep.
It's he's not a must start, but he's a guy you can start. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally fine plugging ETN, and he's a startable player. If you've got great running backs, maybe you don't plug him in, but he's in that like flex category, RB3 category, like you guys were saying. Eric down here says T. Higgins DNP for the second straight week. I'm imagining that's what he wrote. I hope that was like an autocorrect, like you type. I'm imagining Eric just like types T all the time, and so he typed T and it autocorrected in his phone to T. Says DNP for second straight practice yesterday. If he continues to be limited, would you go as far as benching him for Alec Pierce after the goose egg last week? Coop, what are you doing here?
I think so, man. The thing that is annoying about this is that, like, when you hear the coach talking, he's always like, he's trying to play, and we're like trying to let him play, but he can't play because he's hurt. Like, that's the worst thing for fantasy football. I want these guys either ready to go or I want them out. I definitely don't want anybody
healing fully or not healing at all.
There's been a bunch of guys that like historically used to do that. All like AJ Green used to play every game no matter what and just be a decoy when he was hurt. Like, and that is the worst thing for fantasy football. So I think I would just, if he doesn't practice today, definitely don't start him. But unless if he's a full participant today, then I'll start him. But otherwise, if he's limited or anything like that, no.
That would be odd if he was a DNP the past 2 days and then a full participant today, right? That would be a little bit odd. We'll keep an eye on it. Tyson, similar question, says, if Higgins doesn't play, do I start Drake London, Pollard, or Mike Boone? So London, Pollard, or Boone in this one. JL, which one of those players would you be throwing in your starting lineup?
It would be Drake London for me.
Drake London. What about you, Coop? Is it going to be Drake London for you as well?
Yeah. The thing that's annoying about London too is that he didn't quite run all the routes. He only ran 24, and Olamide Zacchaeus ran like 30. But I still start him over Pollard against the Eagles and Mike Boone, who is just like a pure question mark. So give me Drake London.
Yeah, it's going to be Drake London for me. It's not a sexy matchup going up against the 49ers, right? Like it's a rougher matchup for fantasy wide receivers, but I still think you have to go Drake London. Squirrel Bob says, what do you think I can get for Jeff Wilson? He's just depth, but I feel like I want to move him before he gets hurt or Mitchell comes back. Yeah, this is going to be a harder player to move for like full value because there is the inevitable return of Elijah Mitchell, right? Like people are going to look at that and probably value him less because it's a rental. You're just going to get a couple weeks out of him, but maybe you can find a running back needy team, like a team that has their guys on bye or injured. Maybe the Josh Jacobs manager who also had Javonte Williams and now he's sitting there like this week and has no starting running backs. You could probably move Wilson. Joe, what would you be looking to get in return to move Jeff Wilson?
Probably a holographic Charizard at least. Maybe more. Maybe more for Jeff Wilson.
So something like You in return, you'd want something that looks like this.
Exactly like that. How did you know?
It was ready.
Look at that. Is that a holographic Chauncey too?
Chauncey? Did you just
Chauncey?
call
Chauncey? Yeah, Chauncey.
I found the
Chauncey.
I've been doing all this
Chauncey.
I was making fun of Simon for Pokemon cards, and then I was like putting something in the attic, and I was like, "Oh, there's my Pokemon cards." Yeah,
Wait,
I got
Coop,
them all. I got
is
them all in
that-
here, numbered in order.
Is that first edition, that Charizard?
No, my God, first edition.
Okay, because I was gonna say, if that's first edition, you may have like $500,000 sitting in that binder.
That's what I was gonna say, dude.
Like
I'd
a
be on
highly
I
graded
probably
first
had a-
edition.
I probably had
hologra-
so much money I just burned throughout the years giving away my Pokemon cards.
As a kid, I
Yeah.
was definitely trading like first editions for like whatever was shiniest.
Dude,
Oh,
I'm
100%.
pissed. I'm mad now. This has ruined my day.
My Pokemon card collection is not the one I had as a child. That has been sold probably for like $10 at a garage sale. And then my Pokemon card collection now is only things I've bought since I was an adult who shouldn't have been buying Pokemon cards anyways. But
Careful,
that's the
guys.
collection we got. That's what we got going on. We had another question, or JL, besides a holographic Charizard, what would you be trying to get for? Like if it had to be a fantasy football player in return for Jeff Wilson.
I think
Had to
I
be.
closed. I think I closed that. No, I have him up here. Let's see the trade value chart. Let's see where Jeff Wilson lands.
I like
Jeff
how you actually
Wilson-
pulled up the trade value chart, but instead talked about Pokemon cards.
No, I didn't have it up. I just said I don't know if it
Oh.
was up, but it is in fact up on my computer still. Jeff Wilson is 22.5 points, tier 5 value according to Alex's week 6 PPR trade value charts here. Around him, Gabe Davis, Drake London. Love both those guys. Olave. I would trade Jeff Wilson for those guys. Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, J.K. Dobbins. Did you guys trade Jeff Wilson for J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to convince people to trade one running back for another because they always look at
Sure,
it and they're
but
like,
just
what do you
pure
back
value
to?
wise, which would you rather have?
I would rather have J.K. Dobbins just for the long haul.
Similar type of values. Maybe you can work some out.
Maybe. If you're looking cross position, Squirrel Bob said, what about Kadarius Toney? Would you guys make that move? Jeff Wilson
No.
for Kadarius Toney?
No, absolutely not. You need more than that for Jeff Wilson.
Not enough.
He doesn't even
Not
play.
enough.
Doesn't even play football.
No, he's not even playing right now. You got to get some. Listen, like if the market value is saying that you can get someone like Drake London or Gabe Davis or Chris Olave, why you don't even play around with Kadarius Toney? He's not in the tier. He's not even in the same conversation as these guys.
I think because Jeff Wilson has Elijah Mitchell come back, you might have to go down a little bit. Like I'm with you, shoot your shot on those guys, but maybe like an Amari Cooper, a Devonta Smith is the route that you can be going, and I'd be fine with that move as well. Like I'd be totally fine grabbing one of those wide receivers. I'm with you though, Jill. Shoot your shot on Gabe Davis. Maybe wait for a down Gabe Davis week, and but you can't wait too long with Jeff Wilson, can you? You kind of got to make.
Jay says you're not getting those guys for Wilson. Here's the thing about these trade value charts. Yeah, you're not using them in that way, right? It's not, hey, look, these are the values that everyone has. This is a baseline based off of what the market is feeling. And so there's just as much of a chance that your league mate will accept Gabe Davis for Jeff Wilson as there is that they won't, if we trust these trade values to be what they say they are.
Yeah. Tyson in here said, instead of London, so some other options on the waiver wire wants to know, instead of London, should I pick up Allen Robinson, Elijah Moore, or MVS? Would you guys start Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Elijah Moore, or Allen Robinson over Drake London this week?
Could you say the names one more time, but a little slower?
Allen Robinson, Elijah Moore, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's going to be London still for me, I think.
Yeah, London out of all those guys.
I
You
don't
got
know.
to triple London.
Lazard's kind of enticing, but you got to start London.
You got to start London. I'm with you on that one. Guys, the next game I wanted to talk a little bit about, we've talked about it some already, but this Jacksonville Jaguars versus Indianapolis Colts game. Last time the Jaguars played them, they won 24-0, but you mentioned they're only 2.5-point favorites in this one. You guys think the Jaguars come in and take care of business again, or is this going to be a much closer game than it was last time?
I think it'll be closer. I think the Colts will be able to put up more of a fight in this one. I don't know what's going on with the Colts O-line. I don't know what's
bad.
What is going on with that team. Yeah, but I think they'll be able to put up more of a fight, and I think they'll be ready. They just played them a couple weeks ago. I think it's not, it's also a little bit later in the season. They have a few more games under their belts. I think we're just going to get a little bit less fluky of a matchup than we did in week 2. I think it was.
Right. Yeah. Matt Ryan quarterbacking a brand new team, brand new organization. I think it is going to be a lot closer than it was. And I think Vegas thinks the same thing. So.
And Tommy's saying this is his dog for the week, his underdog that he's taken, the Colts over the Jaguars. I disagree. I think this is kind of like a get-right game for these Jaguars. They said after the game last week, Doug Peterson saying we need to get Christian Kirk the ball more. Know what I mean? Like it was a rough game for them against the Texans last week. I think they come out, they take care of the Colts, they cover the spread, get back on their winning ways, and this Jaguars team looks a little bit more like the team that looked good through the first couple weeks instead of the team that's looked pretty bad the past 2. Has not looked great for those Jaguars. I'm taking the Jags to cover the 2.5 points.
Is Shaq Leonard going to play? Finally, he hasn't really played. He came back for one game and he got smashed, like broke his nose, got a concussion. He has missed a couple practices this week, but I haven't gotten an update on whether he's going to play or not.
He hasn't practiced the last 2 days. Like Wednesday and Thursday, he did not participate at practice the past 2 days.
He's out. Yeah. Fire up your Evan Ingrams. Load them up.
Load them up. Yeah, so he's not going to be out there on the field. I still think the Jaguars win this game. Whenever we're looking at the players in this game, Travis Etienne starting to build more of a workload. We talked a little bit about him being an RB3 candidate, but by end of season, we mentioned the possibility that he takes over as the lead back in this backfield. Do you guys think that's a realistic scenario, or is this going to be more of a full committee for the rest of the season as we're looking forward?
Likely full committee.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a little more of a committee than what the Jets are doing, because with the Jets, the guys have very similar skill sets, so it's easier to just play more Breece Hall. But in this case, they have 2 different skill sets, so as a coach, it's easier to lean into one guy for rushing and one guy for receiving.
Absolutely. I can try to pull more out of this game. I think we move on to the next game. Jaguars-Colts is not the game that everyone's excited about this weekend. The next game I want to talk about, Bengals and Saints in this matchup. The Bengals are going to New Orleans to face the New Orleans Saints. They're 1.5 point favorites on the road with a 43.5 point over under. This is one of the more interesting games to me this weekend, right? Like, I'm not quite sure which way I think it's going to go. It was surprising to me at first whenever I see the Bengals as only 1.5 point favorites, but then I think about what we've seen so far this season. It makes sense. It does make sense. The Bengals haven't been playing to the level that maybe we thought they would. The offensive line's been way worse than we thought it was going to be. Coop, who do you think takes this game? Are the Bengals winning this one, or are the Saints going to pull off the upset?
This is the one where at first glance you think of, Andy Dalton Saints, and they should be big time dogs against a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. But the Bengals haven't been that impressive. I think I have the Bengals in this one. I think they win, but I don't know. It's going to be closer than at least I think when I first look at it. And you said the same thing. Like I look at it and I'm like, got to be Bengals. But then I think once I really dig into it, I don't have too many reasons why. Joe Mixon has looked so inefficient. It's been so annoying.
Just wildly inefficient. And crazy. Jameis isn't playing, right? Have they confirmed that? I know he was a limited participant the past 2 days at practice, but are we getting Jameis back, or is it going to be more Red Riffle?
I think it's going to be more of the Red Riffle this week.
I don't think Jameis.
Red Riffle.
Andy Dalton, the Red Riffle. Yeah, we'll probably get a little bit more of him, which may mean more Taysom Hill as well. If we're seeing Andy Dalton, it seemed like they liked putting Taysom Hill in there. Coop, you plugging Taysom Hill into your lineups this week if you've got him? Like, where's that line for you that you're plugging Taysom Hill in over the next tight end?
The line for me is at touchdown dependency. So almost all my leagues are PPR, any sort of PPR. So, like, I'm definitely going to start, like, guys like Evan Ingram or, Gerald Everett with no Keenan Allen. Like, anyone that Njoku, anyone that I can count on to get me targets, I'm going to start those guys first. But then when I start looking at – no. So Hayden Hurst is one where if T. Higgins is out, then Hayden Hurst would be above the line. If T. Higgins is playing, Hayden Hurst is below the line. That's how it kind of works for me, where it's like touchdown dependency is where it determines it. Because we've seen Hayden Hurst in 2 games where T. Higgins got banged up. He actually looked pretty good. Every other game, he's a touchdown or not guy. But I'll start Taysom Hill over Tyler Conklin, who only ran like 9 routes last week. I'd start him over Daniel Bellinger, Will Disley. So, like, if you're looking at Robert Tonyan is so close to the line because he only plays like 50, 60 snaps. I would have had Cole Kmet ahead, and I would have been wrong. But, I mean, Cole Kmet did have what should have been a touchdown target when he was open, but it hit off a lineman's face and got intercepted. But, yeah, so I don't know. The guys that are tricky for me are like Robert Tonyan, Dalton Schultz, Hunter Henry in that range. If Jonnu Smith is out again, I would start Hunter Henry over him.
I just feel like the answer is like, F it, plug Taysom in. Like he can get 4 touchdowns. Like there's very few tight ends with that kind of upside in that range. Like it's not going to happen again. He's not going to have another 4 touchdown game this week. He's not. He's not going to have another 4 touchdown game, but he could have 2. It's not unreasonable for him to at least.
That's what it boils down to. He has better odds to score 2 touchdowns than any of the guys that are just 1 touchdown coin flips. So he has to go ahead of those guys. But again, he doesn't catch passes at all. So when he has a bad game, it looks super bad. Like he scored week 2, he scored 1 point.
I can't wait for the next one. That's so mean. I'm sorry, Taysom Hill. I just resent you. JL, are you making stank face about Taysom Hill, or are you looking at something else over there?
I don't. That wasn't a stank face. I was just listening while looking at Taysom Hill's stats.
Oh,
1.4.
I'd be making stank face if I was looking at Taysom Hill's stats. The bad weeks and the good weeks just make me upset. Both of them are bad, right?
The best way to visualize the floor here is like, so that game week 2,
0.
He had, 3 carries for 1.4 yards. Like the game Cole Kmet had yesterday, which was bad. In full PPR, Cole Kmet had a better game. 1 catch for 15 yards is 2.5 points. So that's like your typical Taysom Hill goes out and has 25 rushing yards games. Like, so any sort of PPR, I'm leaning into anybody that I think can get 3 or 4 targets because the floor is so low for Hill, but the ceiling is nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Over Ertz, yeah. Brendan says, I might go a little crazy and throwing Taysom Hill over Ertz. See, that is where I think you are getting crazy because Zach Ertz is playing wide receiver basically for that team. He's playing 85% of the routes, playing 75% of those snaps or 72% at a wide receiver spot. He's, one of the top targets on the team. I couldn't possibly throw Taysom Hill over Ertz. And
what if you're let's say you're in a matchup where like very clearly you're the underdog. Know what I mean? Maybe it's a dynasty league and you've got a team that's bad. But you've had Taysom Hill sitting on your bench, and are you taking that long shot? Like, do you think there's more upside with Taysom Hill than Zach Ertz, or are you still just plugging Zach Ertz in?
Put him at the flex. If your team's that bad, then start Ertz Ertz is probably the like number 3 tight end start this week behind only Kelsey and Mark Andrews. So you start Zach Ertz at tight end. It's a shootout game against Zach Ertz is in a shootout game against the very worst team versus the tight end, the number 32 team versus the tight end.
Yeah.
So you put Ertz in if you want to go crazy, put Ertz at tight end and then put Taysom Hill at the flex, or put Taysom Hill at the flex and at tight end and Ertz at the flex. But you don't bench Ertz.
That's getting a little wild. That's getting a little wild right there. And Scott Fish coming in saying Ertz is getting 8.2 targets per game. That's a lot of opportunity for 2022 tight ends.
Yeah.
Gotta get him in there. Yeah. Ertz is like, that one's out of the question. If you want to
even if you're
real crazy, go like Higbee maybe. If
you're an underdog, you know how you win that game is you score points. So don't go, going for Taysom Hill, hoping that he's the upside play and ignoring the option that is most likely to give you a decent number of fantasy points this week.
What I typically do is I just start my best players.
Brendan said, I'm actually considering it because I'm projected to win by 40 plus because my opponent didn't manage bye weeks at all. So might have some fun with it. Be careful, Brendan. You know what? Like that sounds like a trap game, like the classic trap game on your schedule, right? You're looking ahead to next week thinking I'm just going to mess around with these guys. One injury or one stunt game and that 40-point like projection that you have just disappears
life comes at you quick
immediately after. It just goes away fast.
Brendan, Google Deshaun Jackson fumbles at goal line and then decide whether it's a good idea to get super cute starting Taysom Hill because you think you're going to win by 100.
Dustin with the don't go chasing waterfalls. Keep to the rivers and lakes you are used to. Yeah, don't chase points. Don't chase points just because Taysom had 4 touchdowns last week. Yeah, did you write that, Dustin? Is that something that you wrote yourself?
Waterfalls.
Man, just absolutely beautiful. Someone should put a tune behind that. Someone should put a little bit of tune behind that one. Tommy coming in with the pure poetry as well. Dustin always coming in with the hits. Also, shout out Dustin. Yesterday was his birthday. So happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday,
Dustin. Welcome back, Dustin. Guys, it looks like we got someone calling in to come up on stage with us. Some of you guys know our friend Hal is calling in. I got no idea what Hal has to say to us today, but it's always something good. Let's hear what Hal has got for us. What's up, Hal?
What's going on, guys? I was just listening to you talk about just walking home from dropping the car off to get an oil change because I didn't want to wait.
Nice.
Solid move.
So when we're talking about upside with these guys, when you're an underdog, where's the line where you would start somebody who could blow up or could go zero? Is it your RB3 or your WR3, or is it really only that flex position where you would be taking that risk?
It's a good question. It really all depends on the strategy you want to take here and how you're blending the different players together. So each player has a floor, has a ceiling, and your goal is to optimize, right? That's your main goal. Optimize so that you get the most points possible. And that's managing risk, right? Managing the uncertainty and risk that comes with each player and managing those variables that we were talking about, the upside, the floor. So I'm fine. So it's not necessarily, I don't think about it necessarily as like, oh, I'm not going to start him in my RB or my flex position or my wide receiver position slot versus the flex spot. It's more about what other players do I have that are going in those slots necessarily.
Let's say Mike Williams is my wide receiver 1, right? I'm going to be a lot less likely to plug in a boom or bust guy in that wide receiver 2 slot than if, say, Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson was my wide receiver 1. Someone that I'm confident is pretty consistent. So if they're consistent like that, then I'm going to be more likely to plug in this high upside boomer bust guy. And this is like a draft thing too. Whenever we're drafting, if my wide receivers early are a little bit more volatile, like I feel like Mike Williams is a perfect example. He is a volatile wide receiver. He's going to have big games. He's going to have goose eggs. I might go for more stability, someone like a Jacoby Myers later, and leave that guy in my lineup. Whereas if I need that boom bust and my first wide receiver is just a steady guy that I can count on week in, week out, I'm fine with some more volatility at those other positions. Like the more stability I have at the top, the higher up I'm comfortable with some of that volatility because like the stability levels my team out.
I do rankings that try to encapsulate that every, this is the first year we did them for all positions, but if you're interested in that strategy next year, the dynamic rankings over at Fantasy Alarm, after the top 20 wide receivers, I break them down into categories like high, low floor, high ceiling, and then like safe wide receiver 3s. And you want to get a balance, like Simon said. So we try to encapsulate that. It's tough, but when you look at the rankings that I put out there, at the very least, you don't have to follow them, but it'll help you get in that mindset.
Right.
No, absolutely. That's a great point. Now, are you guys more willing to do it at like some positions than others? Like, are you more willing to accept volatility at wide receiver than at running back per se?
Absolutely. Running back and wide receiver. So at running back, I want a little less volatility because with wide receiver, there's just more depth. Typically, there's a lot more wide receivers, fantasy relevant wide receivers than there are fantasy relevant running backs. So I'm okay accepting more volatility in the wide receiver position. Typically, I like getting a nice solid base in the running back position, but this is all about strategy, right? Zero RB. There's all these different types of strategies like zero RB where that changes, that balance changes.
Absolutely. That one's I'm with you, JL. Like as the season goes on, I crave more and more stability at my running back position. Whereas at the beginning of the season, I'm a little bit more comfortable with some of that volatility. But I think that's just the way the position goes. Like as the season goes, it becomes a little bit more clear, the running back position. Like I feel like clarity comes as the season progresses, with injuries being the only thing that kind of derails it. Wide receiver, I feel like just the position as a whole is more volatile. So if you want the upside from that position, you have to be willing to accept a little bit more of that volatility as well. Guys, about to join us on the show right now, we got a special guest coming on, Aaron Ladd. He's a sports anchor on News Kansas City's KSHB 41 News and an Arrowhead Pride contributor. And we were just talking, that is the game that we are most excited for this week. It is the highlight of the weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills game. Vinny calling it as his upset of the week. Aaron, my man, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Aaron.
Anytime. I'm glad my Zoom background, hangs with y'all. Y'all look like professionals here. It looks like y'all know.
Bro, you look like professional. The quality, the camera quality on point.
Best camera yet? Is that true? Easily,
That's got to be true.
Easily.
Yeah, easily the best camera.
Yo, and best mic yet. Like you got the mic in your
True,
like,
yeah.
like a sports reporter on the side. Like, man, I'm about to hold my mic like this the rest of the time.
The whole 3
just to
hours.
fit in. Yeah.
You're setting yourself up with a lot of high expectations to live up to, though, man.
Oh,
Coming in
Lord.
with fire, so
Let me
you gotta
lower
back-
those expectations expeditiously.
Oh, it's too late, dude. It's too late, man.
Way too late. How you doing today, Aaron?
Doing well. Appreciate y'all having me on. It's kind of weird. We've been talking about this game, it seems like all offseason, ever since the 13-second game.
100%.
Bills Mafia and Chiefs Kingdom have kind of been at each other's necks, but it's here. And I'm good. I'm glad that, they seem like the cream of the crop of the AFC so far. Like we're getting exactly what we thought we were getting coming into the year. And I know I covered the Chiefs. I know that I'm coming in with the Chiefs Kingdom side of things, but I'm actually taking Buffalo.
Taking Buffalo.
Oh, look out.
You think this Buffalo team is just too complete? Is that what's going on here?
You're fully buying in. I can see you're walking around with you've been walking around all week with a chip on your shoulder because of that not used to being an underdog. I think you're
I mean, Patrick Mahomes an underdog for the first time in his last 41 starts, which is an insane stat. Buffalo
insane.
coming into Arrowhead and getting 2.5 points should tell you everything we need to know about how Vegas sees these two teams and I think how this game plays out. Buffalo should have won this game the last time these two played. I mean, 13 seconds, that doesn't happen. That's like some sorcery or some like crazy stuff. Some things we can't say on air like that.
Just
No
the
other
fact
quarterback
that
can do that.
We all got to witness that live is unreal. Like live watching on our TVs or whatever. Like that was the most insane end to a game I've ever seen.
I will say this, dude. Gabe Davis, great game and all, but he didn't really do anything until Tyrann Mathieu got a concussion there. He didn't have a catch until late in the second quarter. So I don't know if it would have been the same. I think you might be selling your boys a little short there because if Mathieu didn't go out, I think the Chiefs probably handle that one a little easier. I don't know.
And they look a little different on defense this year, to your point. There's no more Tyrann Mathieu. Juan Thornhill's back there with Justin Reed coming over from Houston. And at some points, I would have said that the defense has kept Kansas City in games as far as this year. And I know they have the highest scoring offense in the NFL, and they scored the most touchdowns, which is kind of crazy to say because sometimes we've seen that inconsistent play, that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of personality from KC's offense. But at times it's been their pass rushers. At times it's been their defense. When it's not a roughing the passer called, KC has been able to get home and wreak some havoc and that type of thing.
God, there's just been some brutal roughing the passer calls this year, hasn't there? It's just like what is going on with these calls out there? No, I'm with you though.
What kind of vibe are you getting out there? Because you're not used to being the underdogs. I just picture people out like the Chiefs fans out there, like a coat over their shoulders, walking around, the Power and Light District, rubbing their hands together like
Power and Light District.
Yeah, dude,
he knows his KC. That was a drop right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a blast when I was out there, man. I went to the World War I museum, the World War II. It's a World War I museum, right? I've been out. Yeah, I had a blast out there, man, dude. I spent at least 50% of my time there eating barbecue. So but
that's what I did when I first got here. Not great for the stomach and the intestines. Too much barbecue.
That plays right back to Boston, man. That was a trip, dude.
It was rough.
Having the window seat
asking
was
for
the everybody else.
Just stayed in that bathroom, hit that occupado, stayed in that airplane bathroom the whole flight.
I was doing laps, man.
You're asking for the pulse of Chiefs Kingdom. I think they respect this team. Ultimately, if you have to ask for a rival these last couple of years, it's Buffalo. I mean, there's no doubt in Chiefs Kingdom's mind that Josh Allen has raised his play to the point to where he is in the same zip code as Patrick Mahomes, and that 13-second game proved it. And how they've started this year, that's all you can do is respect them. I think Chiefs fans know that even if they do drop this one, that's not an indication on how far this season can go. They've got the roughest 8-game stretch in NFL history. We've talked about it ad nauseum with all these teams having winning records last year. And so far through 5 weeks, they're 4-1. I mean, you can't really complain if you come out and play a hard-fought game against Buffalo. drop to 4-2 through 6 weeks and still got everything you want in front of you, especially considering how the AFC West has looked so far this year.
Yeah.
It's not what we thought it was going to be coming into the year. So from Chiefs fans I've talked to, of course, they want to win. They want to win every game. They want to go 17-0, but that's just not realistic.
I feel like that's a similar way to, as a Ravens fan, like I felt with the Ravens losing to the Bills is exactly how you're describing it. I'm like, yeah, like the fact that we could hang is pretty impressive to me. So I'm excited about that, right? I know this Bills team is fantastic on all ends. And so the fact that it's even a good game, whether we lose or win, yeah, of course you want to win, but it's still, this Bills team is amazing. We can't deny it.
And I feel that vibe. Like sometimes rivalries transcend divisions, like I'm a Patriots fan myself. And I always, for a long time there, all I thought about was the Colts and Peyton Manning. Right, like because that's what it was for a long time. It was great. Like there was nobody in the division that we thought too much about. So you're just all year you're thinking about how do we beat Peyton Manning this year. And I think it's kind of getting there with the Chiefs and the Bills, where it's like those are the teams to beat. So that's what you think about.
What a fun rivalry though, between those two teams. Like
Yeah.
how lucky are we? Like as a neutral fan, how lucky am I to get to watch this Chiefs Bills rivalry? Like that's the peak. That's the pinnacle. I'm hoping this game is everything that I wanted the Rams Bills game to be in week 1, and then it wasn't. That's what I'm hoping for in this game. It's gonna really break my heart if we see like a replay of that one. But I think this Chiefs team is a lot better than that Rams team. So hopefully we'll see that out there for sure. Aaron, maybe you can provide some clarity for us. We've been talking about these Chiefs wide receivers, a little bit about Juju Smith-Schuster. Travis Kelce is the dude. It's Mahomes to Kelce. But then after that, it's just kind of up in the air. Are we going to see Juju pick it up at some point this season, or is it a lost cause for Juju? The experiment's not working.
I think Mahomes tried to warn fantasy players ahead of the year, and I've tried to do my best as well to warn everybody. Like, you don't want any Kansas City pass catchers that are not named Travis Kelce, simply because it's going to be extremely hard to predict who's going to be the guy from week to week. And I think that's by design. Andy Reid, trying to reinvent this offense after Tyreek Hill was traded to Miami, kind of came up with the point of, you're not going to figure us out, right? We're going to come with a different game plan each and every week. Last week, it was the big breakout for Marquez Valdez-Scantling after he comes over from Green Bay. And who saw that coming? I mean, Juju is technically your wide receiver 1, but it could be McCole Hardman one week. It could be MVS one week. It could be the running backs more involved with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon. There's so many different flavors that Andy Reid can have and move in and switch out in different places. I don't know who it's going to be on a week-to-week basis. I, in my fantasy leagues, purposely avoided Chiefs pass catchers for this exact reason. But if I had to pick a guy, it is Juju Smith-Schuster. Following this team since training camp and him being involved in the offense. He's kind of that big body guy that sits in the intermediate range that does a lot of the Travis Kelce-esque things, but from a wide receiver position. So he's always going to have a role in this offense, but it's going to be frustrating at points in times. You're going to have to pack your patience when you have a Chiefs wideout not named, or Chiefs pass catcher not named Travis Kelce.
You know what it is? That's exactly what it is that like with some teams you look at it and you're like, okay, Mike Evans is the split end. And this guy and Chris Godwin's the slot guy. And, Russell Gage is the third guy in. So when they play a Marshawn Lattimore, it's like, okay, Marshawn Lattimore on Mike Evans. I'm looking at the stats for this team right now. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 41.8% of his snaps in the slot. Mecole Hardman, 50.4. Juju, 45.6. Justin Watson, 50. Sky Moore, 55.3. They move everyone around too much for you to be like, okay, this guy's going to cover this guy. This guy's going to cover that guy. Like that's what, and credit to Andy Reid, like you say, nothing keeps you guessing more than every single one of your wide receivers being between 40 and 50% at slot. It's like, who knows? So kind of a nightmare.
Yeah,
It makes my job tough. Like I would love for him to just pick 3 guys and line 2 up out wide and 1 in the slot, but whatever works. You got to deal with it.
It's interesting. I wonder if this is like if it's, I hadn't really thought about it in that way, Aaron, until you said it, but I wonder if this is just a direct response to like him overcompensating, because it's really, if you look at the past couple seasons, it's been kind of easy to figure out the Chiefs, right? And that's why they ran into that whole issue in the beginning of last season with the cover 2 shell, just kind of dismantling the offense, because they kind of had their go-to things, right? Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, hit him on the deep ball. Use Patrick Mahomes' rushing capabilities in the ground game to really like differentiate it. But they've been able to be figured out right? And so maybe this is like a direct response to that.
What I would say is, it's a challenge for Patrick Mahomes to keep the offense a little bit more on schedule. Not just a challenge for Mahomes, but also the coaching staff. I remember General Manager Brett Veach talking with the media after the AFC title game and kind of the second half collapse where they couldn't muster a first down seemingly after smacking Cincinnati around in the first half. And he said Kansas City's biggest weakness is sometimes themselves. When you know that you can go, F it, Tyreek is down there and get 30 yards in one play, you had that propensity to just not stay on schedule. Then you take the deep shot, and when your offense is so high powered, you lean on that a little bit too much. I think we've seen Kansas City stay a little bit more in schedule, stay a little bit more in rhythm, and that starts up front with the offensive line all the way through 15.
Man, this Kansas City team, though, for years now, it's the only team where I'll look at a game, they're down 14 to 20 points, and I've got all the confidence in the world that they're going to win it. Like Patrick Mahomes being behind there at quarterback is it truly feels like they can drop 14 points in 3 minutes, right? It's the team where I'm I see 17 points, and most teams I'm okay, they're out of it, game over. But with Kansas City, you're they're still in this, baby. They can pull
Don't do that this week. Don't do that.
No,
week.
You can't do that against
I said
the
that.
Bills.
I said that on Twitter. You can't do that this week, and you can't lean back. It was 17-0 against the Raiders, and I think all the live lines still had KC within 2.5. It's a lot of respect, but you can't do that against a better opponent. You can't do that against a team that's playing as well offensively as Buffalo is, and I think even the Chiefs would tell you the same thing. Hey, we kind of slept through that first half. And it's like that, right? When they get on the elevator, it just goes to a different floor than their competition. But I'm sure they would tell you, we don't want to be playing around in those first couple quarters. We want to come out firing on all cylinders.
Right.
Poor Tommy in the chat saying still recovering. He's a Raiders fan.
Still
down there.
recovering.
Big Raiders fan. Said still recovering, although I expected it. Yeah. If you're sitting on the other side of a 17-point lead against Patrick Mahomes, you got to be scared, right? You got to be sitting there almost more scared than when it's 0-0 because you're if we lose this game, it's going to be so disappointing. Then we blew a 17-point lead instead of just losing to a Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs team, right? Pretty disgusting.
It's got to be demoralizing for sure. But it puts a bigger spotlight on your coaching, right? We can circle a couple decisions that were made by the Raiders last week and say, going for 2 right there. I'm not sure if I want to do it. You almost want to keep your team in the game as long as possible and exploit what you're doing well. I thought their running offense was really well. So we'll see that. We'll see that again this week, right? Josh Jacobs has a day last week. We'll see if Buffalo can look at that tape and see if they find anything on film that they can exploit.
Tommy in here had a question for us, the Raiders fan that we're just absolutely just torturing right now with all this talk. But his question was about the running backs. He said CEH not off to a great start. Jerick McKinnon has outsnapped him in 4 out of 5 weeks so far this season. What do you see for the future in this Kansas City backfield? What's this backfield going to look like rest of the season?
I actually really like this question because I don't think CEH is off to a bad start. This is a guy that gets a lot of hate from Kansas City and his and the fans here based on where he was selected and kind of the sophomore slump. I think he missed 8 games last year due to injury, but he's got 5 touchdowns through 5 weeks so far this year after having 6 all of last year. I know the snap counts are the way they are. It never looks good when you have a 7th round rookie coming in and taking some snaps from you. But I called this backfield a Neapolitan backfield, if you will, in the offseason. It's a lot of different flavors, right? Like Clyde is your chocolate, and Isaiah Pacheco, the 7th round rookie out of Rutgers, is your strawberry. You got Jerick McKinnon in there as your vanilla.
Of course, Pacheco's a strawberry.
And it's intentional. Andy Reid likes to eat. Andy Reid likes different flavors at running back.
Andy Reid puts everything in terms of food.
Put that strawberry in there.
And there's change of pace guys. I don't know if we look around the league now and see any team that fully dedicates all 3 downs to one back. It's just not reasonable anymore. You're playing an 18-game schedule. Kansas City's playing deep into January every year too. You're going to need running backs to cycle in and out. And right now, Clyde has been the touchdown guy. I think even last week, there was a penalty that called back another receiving touchdown that he would have had. That would have been 6 through 5 weeks. You're going to see Clyde. You're going to see Pacheco. You're going to see McKinnon. And each one of them brings a different part to this offense. Jerick McKinnon had one of the biggest plays last week for Kansas City. They're down 17-0, trying to mount that comeback. 2nd and 17, he gets a 30-yard gain that keeps that drive alive. And they end up getting 7 on that drive. And I think the competition, maybe the coaches won't say this specifically, but I think the competition brings out the best in each and every one of those backs. Clyde sees a rookie going out there and getting a few snaps. He's on his toes when he gets his next carry, and I think it's just like the wide receivers we were talking about earlier, where you never know who it's going to be from week to week. I think it's going to be similar in the running back room.
I'll tell you one thing about Jerick McKinnon, dude. I wouldn't fight that guy with a 3, y'all. That guy, I think he did 32 reps of bench press at the combine. That dude is a beast, monster. Yeah,
Dude's a monster.
I'm not going near that guy. And I'm not surprised they bring him in for pass blocking plays, right? You got a guy
absolutely
that, can pack that kind of punch.
Did you see Darnell Mooney throwing down the blocks yesterday? That little guy, just want to throw that out there. Like, he's little next to some of these guys he was blocking, and he was doing his best. Like, it was clear he shouldn't have been there blocking for Justin Fields, but he threw out some nice blocks last night.
A lot of heart.
JL, did you have a question? I believe you said there was a fantasy question in the chat.
There is a question from Ross Bob asking, should I trade Nick Chubb for Jamar Chase, Debo, and Mixon?
What kind of question?
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
in a heartbeat.
I definitely
I'm hammering that.
Yeah,
I didn't read that question before I said it.
Right. I'll tell you what.
Definitely take that trade.
If that guy gets cold feet, go in there and look at whatever guys you would drop off your bench to make that trade and throw them in the trade too, and just make sure you can get it done. Like, don't let that get away, right? Like, because you're gonna have to drop a couple guys anyway. Throw them in there. Who cares? Like, sweeten the deal a little bit and get Chase, Debo, Mixon.
That's hot.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's hot. That's one where all your league mates go, "What the hell? We can't let this trade stay." Like,
you might have to take those guys you were going to drop and put them in there just so it doesn't get vetoed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just protect that trade by all means necessary.
You throw a player in there. Who's a player you could throw in there just to sweeten that up? An MVS. Throw Marquez Valdez-Scantling on there. He just had a good game, right?
That's the thing about 3-for-1s people don't think about. You got to drop 2 players to make that trade happen. So, I mean, and you don't care who picks the guys up off waivers anyway. So, throw somebody in there. Get it done.
100%. Now, I had a question about Pacheco. So we've seen him start to get some snaps. Do you think he does take on a bigger role as this season goes on or into next year? Or is he a depth piece? Like, is this dude a depth piece? What did you call him? He's the strawberry, right? Are we going to see a little bit more strawberry going on, or is it going to stay a little sliver in that Neapolitan?
I have no idea, and it kind of comes down to design. I think there's going to be a role for each and every one of the backs on a week-to-week basis, but for me to sit here and tell you, he's going to be the starter in 2 weeks against no, I have no idea. I think Andy Reid likes the kid, and it's kind of crazy. I saw a stat before the season even started that he was the first 7th-round rookie to break the camp with the team since Andy Reid started coaching. Which is kind of a crazy stat. Somebody back that up, please, on Twitter. But it just shows you how much confidence they had in it. And we kind of heard the smoke and the fire coming out of St. Joe. He was getting kick return reps too, which shows you kind of what the versatility they see with him. But this was a guy if we're talking fantasy wise, I would be nervous starting on a week-to-week basis just because Clyde seems like the touchdown guy. So you're depending on Pacheco to either break one or just out snap him and out carry him so far above it that it kind of reaches even. I'm avoiding Chiefs running backs not named Clyde.
Man, that's a crazy stat. I'm imagining, like, before Pacheco, like, every time someone got drafted in the 7th round by Andy Reid, like, as they're getting drafted, he calls them and just like whispers, like, "You're not gonna make the team," and then hangs up on them, like, as they get drafted, like, just ruin that moment for them.
What was that?
It's got to be tough though. Andy Reid's got one of those tough playbooks that guys dread getting when you're going from college to the league. There's so many different calls, and it's just a different system, and it expects you to pick it up a little bit. I think it says a lot about both sides, right? The coaches seeing that potential and wanting him to be a part of the team, as well as him impressing them and getting up to speed as quickly as possible.
Some of these college playbooks, it's like they hold up a picture of a duck and like, to like you run like a slant route on that play. You know what I mean? It's like a little different when you get to like Bill Belichick with the modified Earhart Perkins system. You know what I mean? Like,
that's hilarious because Clemson's is like 4. It's like 2 cards with like 4 emojis on it that tells the play.
For real, dude. Like, but it's a great point because like we've seen it before. Tavon Austin, after his rookie year, I don't know why he would tell reporters this, but they asked him, they were like, "What went wrong?" And he goes, "The playbook looked like Spanish to me." I'm just like, Tavon,
Never good to admit that. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't say that into a mic.
Every reporter was like, "Oh, write that down." It was literally the headline of every article that week. You know what I mean? Like, Davon, no.
No, 100%. It's a different beast this season, especially. I feel like I've really it's been funny watching the differences between college game and NFL game. Like I enjoy both, but it's almost like watching a different sport, right? Like it truly is like watching something else. Aaron,
ridiculous. I asked my college buddies, I'm watching the game and the score's like 75-76 with 2 minutes left. I'm like, why aren't you worried? He's like, plenty of time. You know, it's like college football makes no sense to me, dude. It makes no sense at all.
We look at the lines in college football and a team will be favored by like 47 points. Like it'll be absolutely like it's an it's a total in an NFL game, but it's like what the favorite's favored by. And it'll be a conference opponent. It'll be like
spread.
Alabama versus Vanderbilt.
They cover easily. I'm just like, what is this game, dude? Yeah.
Aaron, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us, my man. This was an absolute treat getting to talk some Chiefs with you this Friday afternoon. It's morning, man. It's not afternoon.
Anytime. Yeah, it is morning. It's never too early for barbecue. Next time y'all are in the city, it's on me. Let me know.
Yeah, I'm holding you to that, Aaron. Appreciate you, Aaron. Have a great rest of your day,
brother.
Yep.
Guys, that was our friend Aaron Ladd. Absolutely such a good dude. He's a sports anchor on News Kansas City's KSHB 41 News and an Arrowhead Pride contributor.
Go follow him.
Go follow him over on Twitter. His Twitter handle is Aaron Ladd with 2 D's 0. Aaron Ladd 0. So make sure you go and give Aaron a follow. Man,
I follow him and I don't follow just anybody. I'm like, I don't follow JL.
Oh, no, you don't. I've been hoping for that follow for a while now.
Honestly, you follow Keith?
Today's show? Yeah, I follow Keith. Obviously,
of course.
Man. But yeah, I mean, after the show, JL, I think you might have earned a follow.
Woo!
Good show.
Good show
today.
Have you guys seen the thing about like the KFC Twitter account follows like 4 different guys named Herb and then 3 of the Spice Girls, and the first person to notice that it was like the 7 herbs and spices got a portrait of them painted by KFC that they sent to them, a full portrait of this man whenever he noticed it and called it out. It was like they followed just herbs and Spice Girls, and then this guy figured it out and got a portrait of him painted.
Dude,
you can look the painting up.
They're following like Herb Dean, the MMA ref. They were like the guy. They followed like Herb Scribner, Victoria Beckham. You're right.
Herbie fully loaded.
It's still
is it still like that? Are those still the people they're following?
It looks like they followed a couple extra people. Emma. I don't know why they follow 11 people now, but the first 7
it's
people
11 herbs and spices. That's why. 11 herbs. It's 11
okay.
herbs and spices. So it's probably
the rest
7
are all
herbs
Spice
and
Girls.
5 Spice Girls or something like that.
Yep. Scary Spice. Oh yeah, that's 100% the case. Phenomenal.
Tommy's saying that is brilliant. Yeah, I love when companies do stuff like that. Like that's the best whenever they hide little things like that. It's incredible. Like, do you remember when Cards Against Humanity bought an island and you could like buy a chunk of the island just by buying a card? Like they said you could be a landowner of your own private island just by purchasing like this additional pack from them that came with a card that had like a deed to a 1 square foot parcel of land on the Cards Against Humanity island.
Genius, dude. Did you see what the most recent one was?
No, I haven't seen the most recent one.
You buy a jar of crab mayonnaise. Are they selling crab mayonnaise, dude? And somebody
is this Cards Against Humanity?
Cards Against Humanity, yeah. Their newest expansion pack is crab mayonnaise, and like somebody bought it and they opened it up and it actually has crab mayonnaise in it. And
what is crab mayonnaise?
It's disgusting. But when you dig your fingers into the juicy, slippery crab mayonnaise, there's a pack of cards in there that you have to wash off. You have to like rinse it off and open them up.
Yeah, there's no way.
I'm good. I will just not play your game.
Crab mayonnaise is not a real thing, dude.
Cards Against Humanity is one of those games where like I don't really like the game, but I love the company. You know what I mean? Like I think they're really fun with what they do, but not a huge fan of that game. Also, Coop, great idea. It's funny the first time. And then the second time and third time, you're I can only hear like
clam mayonnaise, not crab.
Oh, even better with the clam mayonnaise over there. Guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and hanging out with us this morning. Coop, I hope you enjoyed your Friday morning bachelor party here, and congratulations this weekend. We'll all be thinking about you as you go tie the knot.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. It's Coop's birthday again this weekend.
Thanks,
we will be back on Monday, but before then, if you want to hang out with us this weekend, we're going to be live. The Fantasy Alarm Show is from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. And then JL and I will be live with our friend Joey Wright from 11 to 1 p.m. Eastern time, pre-gaming with Front Yard Fantasy. Until Sunday, though, we are out of here. Enjoy your weekend. See you later, everyone.